The Last of Us, a Sony exclusive by Naughty Dog, released on June 14, 2013. The game then would go on to be remastered 2 more times. The first time for the PS4 gen the very next year on July 29, 2014. Then released again on September 2nd, 2022. This time with the title being The Last of Us Part 1 for PS4 and PS5. The title being changed the release of The Last of Us Part 2. The game is highly regarded to many as one of the best stories in gaming history due to the emotional roller coaster you embark on as you traverse across an apocalyptic America, plagued by creepy fungus zombies and of course ruthless, shifty bandits. On paper, this game sounds very cliche, even back then in 2013. You got zombies, people being terrible, a father and daughter like relationship that strengthens as you go throughout your journey, stuff you've probably seen before hundreds of times in many zombie mediums to some degree. But despite all this, many praise the game to the high heavens. In this video, I'm going to be revisiting an old favorite of mine, seeing if it stood the test of time and was as good as I remembered. Where does it fall? Masterpiece or not? The game starts off with a close-up of a young girl sleeping. The camera then shifts over to a young man in his early 30s, seemingly arguing with someone named Tommy over the phone, abruptly halting his conversation, proceeding to turn the living room lamp on, waking the young girl. The beginning sets up the characters extremely well. You discern that it's Joel's birthday, with his daughter Sarah falling asleep waiting for him to get home to give him his birthday present. A new watch Joel jokes isn't working properly and is stuck. A typical healthy father and daughter relationship, with the chemistry between each other automatically making you care about these characters right out of the gate. From the get-go, it sets up a character trait of Joel's that is persistent, being integral to the game in many ways. He's rough around the edges, yet soft and caring on the inside. Something that obviously intensifies when society collapses and the undead Goombas take over. This state of normalcy swiftly passes as the cordyceps mycosis take control of its hosts, gripping the world through violence via widespread infections. Sarah also slangs
drugs. I sell hardcore drugs.
Oh, good. You started helping out with the mortgage then.
After waking, you play this segment as Sarah. You get to view the onset, the downfall of humanity through her point of view. This intensifies the panic-induced dread. You're looking at it through the eyes of a young girl. I can only imagine how terrifying this would be for anyone, frankly, and the fact that you're walking around seeing various things pertaining to the infection, such as a newspaper article stating a 300% increase in hospitalizations due to a mysterious infection, a TV news report in Joel's room, which is said to be an area close by, from Sarah proceeding to explode in the distance right outside Joel's window. As you make your way downstairs through the living room doors, you see your father frantically come in through the sliding glass door. You then soon find Jimmy, a neighbor of yours that has recently been infected and is in the first stage of the cordyceps infection, known in this universe as a runner.
Jimmy, I am warning you! Don't!
You shot him.
Sarah.
I saw him this morning.
Listen to me. There is something bad going on.
Making your way outside with Sarah, greeted by the aforementioned Tommy, which is Joel's brother. Load up in the Jeep, then off you go down the road. Witnessing the destruction and panic, people become prey seemingly in the blink of an eye. You witness a ranch house inflamed, also coming across some people trying to flag you down, desperate for a ride. A moral dilemma which reflects some traits onto Joel. He refuses to stop, unlike Tommy. Coming up on LA City traffic in Austin, Texas, everyone is currently trying to get out of the city for understandable reasons. A man is then ambushed by another runner, forcing Tommy to frantically turn the car around. This whole segment really is just pure chaos, spiraling out of control as Joel, Tommy, and Sarah desperately try to reach safety, wherever that may be. Weaving in and out of distraught pedestrians, you then get sideswiped by another vehicle abruptly, coming to with a runner throwing some hands on the other driver, spraying blood everywhere. You find out Sarah is injured, specifically her leg, pick her up, then have to carry her for the rest of the way. The rest is more disarray of people in various stages of hysteria, all fleeing while nervously running about, dodging or not dodging various threats such as infected or automobiles. After some more fiery explosions, you make your way down an alley with a jump scare runner. Tommy yet again comes in clutch to save us. Finding your way through a bar, Tommy holds off a horde of infected, holding the door in place.
Go! You got Sarah! I can outrun him!
Uncle Tommy?
After fleeing the bar with Sarah in hand, you run down a dirt path illuminated by a crashed ambulance. More infected crawl out from the ambulance. You can hear them behind you, hastily making ground on you and your injured daughter. This whole sequence where it goes from you as playing Sarah, then after the car crash you become Joel is brilliant because it automatically morphs from a scared young girl viewpoint to a protective paternal father fighting to save his child. And then it happens.
We're safe. We're safe. Hey, we need help. Stop! Please. It's my daughter. I think her leg is broken. Stop right there! Okay. We're not sick.
Got a couple of civilians on the outer perimeter. Please advise.
Daddy, what about Uncle Tommy?
We're gonna get you to safety and go back for him, okay?
Sir, there's a little girl. But... Yes, sir.
Listen, buddy, we've just been through hell. Okay, we just need... Oh, shit. Please don't. Oh, no. Sarah?
I can't even begin to put in words the sheer anguish and disbelief Joel must have been in Sarah being hit. The idea that the authorities higher ups were setting a perimeter trying to contain the infected in the surrounding areas in an attempt to control the infection is plausible and realistic. The voice acting done in this entire game is just fantastic. This particular part for Sarah, performed by Hannah Hayes, is heart-wrenching. It's so real and raw in all the worst yet best ways possible. I always skip this cutscene after subsequent playthroughs. It just feels bad, man. Watching Joel cradle Sarah after she left this plane of existence is one hell of a way to start the story. It's easily one of, if not the most saddest moment in gaming history. This simultaneously sets up Joel's character strongly right from the start. This game is dark, pulls no punches, letting you know right from the beginning. Thrusting you into a new place and time, you then see the prompt 20 years later. I always laugh when I watch streamers play this game for the first time. They're always shook by this time jump. You're instantly awoken to a knock on the door. Joel begrudgingly stumbles over answering it. Walking straight in, a woman revealed by the name Tess, looking to be in her early 40s, asks how her morning was, helping herself to a stiff drink. Immediately you learn that Tess was jumped, managed to fend off or perhaps even take out her would-be attackers. Joel notices she has been struck on her face. Joel, being protective, shows this characteristic yet again that despite being rough and tough from the exterior, he exhibits a form of safeguarding care towards Tess. You realize as the player, Tess can take care of herself. Makes sense, most survivors at this point would have been hardened or shielded. It's disclosed Joel and Tess together were supposed to deliver some pills to a client in the West End district. Tess chose to go alone. Assuming the worst, thinking the deal went south, she reveals otherwise, giving information regarding someone named Robert, who sent his thugs to kill Tess. Not much is known at this point about Robert. It's obvious he crossed them in some fashion or the other. Tess conveying she knows where Robert is hiding, Joel obliges to go now, sparing no time in leaving. You soon come to the realization that the QZ or quarantine zone's pretty bleak, rough places to live. The roofs are patrolled by militant gunmen, loudspeakers blare demands regarding the zone pollute the air. A crowded ration line, Tess remarks, is probably running low on rations, yet again confirms this is a pretty common occurrence here in the Boston QZ. You also pass 3 armed soldiers guarding civilians civilians which are being detained and scanned using a cordyceps infection detection device. Fedra has under martial law taken over the city of Boston. In this scene, if you walk up to one of the guards, he will shove then threaten to shoot you if you push your luck farther. This can be your first death outside the prologue, as if you test his patience a second time, he will in fact bust a cap in your ass. Approaching a military checkpoint using some form of, I always assumed, forged documentations to quote-unquote take the easy way to reach Robert, your plans are curbed when an explosive is set off inside a military cargo truck right in front of the gate on the other side where you were attempting to pass through to. This segment also cleverly plays as a tutorial, implemented flawlessly as the game proceeds to instruct you how to quick turn, sprint, giving you your first consumable item, a medkit from Tess, after fleeing the scene of the explosion, which seemingly was an attack carried out by the group mentioned in the introductory credits, known as the Fireflies. You make your way down a hall, proceeding through a hole in the wall hidden from view by a bookcase, then gear up with a backpack, flashlight, gas mask, and of course a pistol, with both me and Joel remarking the low ammo count. Tess immediately says how bad it smells down in this tunnel is just a good way to bring all of the senses into a story to immerse the player a bit more, until the future where the PS8s will have smell sequences accordingly. Reaching outside, then utilizing ladder mechanics, you access a ruined building. You can find a Firefly pendant, a dog tag like item that displays Firefly members' names, purely a collectible item for trophy hunters. Deeper into the building, you experience the reason for the first time behind the necessity of the gas mask within your gear. Cordyceps grow on dead victims, sporulating, infecting anyone who happens to breathe in the spores. Running into your first infected outside of the prologue, the game explains stealth mechanics such as silent takedowns and flashlights not alerting infected. This is definitely a pro stealth game, especially on higher difficulties such as Grounded, where you can hardlock yourself if you don't have enough resources to overcome the adversity. After dealing with the runners, you scoot on upstairs where you can find another collectible item. A note, I won't be going over all of these. They bring world building to the game, having subsets of stories from both the past and the present, which puts you in the shoes of what these people were going through at that given time. You keep on keeping on to find yourself in the area known as the Boston slums, largely made up of smugglers. This area comes off as rough as you see people waiting in line for barbecued rats, various stores selling items, people cheering on a staged fight. Tess seems to be known around these parts, bribing a man with ration cards for information regarding Robert. Further on, we get stopped and told to turn around by some of Robert's goons. Tess responds, openly shooting the man dead. Tess is a complete badass. On paper, she may seem like an air quotes strong female character, comes across as an organic product of her environment. We grab the warehouse key off of one of Robert's lackey and get introduced to bottle and brick mechanics to stun or distract enemies. We get one more stealth section, highlights the importance of resources, choosing stealth over confrontation to progress through the game. Then we find Robert.
Get the fuck back!
You just want to talk, Robert.
Fucking nothing to talk about.
Tess, Joel. No hard feelings, right?
We missed you.
Look, whatever it is you heard, it ain't true, okay? I just want to say...
The guns. You want to tell us where the guns are?
Yeah, sure, but it's complicated. All right? Look, all right, just hear me out on this. I sold them.
Excuse me.
I didn't have much of a choice. I owed someone. It's the Fireflies. I owed the Fireflies.
Finding out that Sir Braun sold your firepower to the Fireflies, stating they are all being wiped out, let's just go get them. Tess answers back as a stupid idea before capping the Master of Coin. You then get introduced to the leader of the Fireflies, Marlene. You can actually see on wanted posters scattered around the QZ. Fireflies in the eyes of Fedra are a terrorist organization. Obviously having presence in the zone, you can see Firefly graffiti sprayed all around. Marlene's disinterested interest in an exchange for ration cards for Joel and Tess's guns leads her to propose she needs something smuggled out of the city instead. Fedra officials on your heels, you mutually agree to the proposition. Off you go following an injured Marlene. I always thought it was funny how Robert is such a short-lived character overall, is a major antagonist causing the events which lead Joel and Tess to making the deal with Marlene in the first place. Sneaking past or dealing with some patrolling Fedra soldiers, you finally reach Marlene's destination. She collapses in exhaustion upon entering the room. Tess stops a young girl from violently shanking her via switchblade. It shows from the start Ellie is plenty capable, or at least willing to fight for people she cares about. Initial impressions for me upon the first time meeting with Ellie, obviously I knew she was special in some capacity due to her being on the front of the game. Besides that, I didn't think much of it. Young sassy girl in a messed up universe. Joel jokingly mocks Marlene, remarking she's recruiting kinda young these days. Marlene quips back Ellie isn't a Firefly member. You soon discover Ellie is what Marlene needs to be smuggled out of the city in exchange for your guns. Tess, knowing the way things work in this world, instantly comes off as suspicious, demanding to see the guns before they agree to any said deal. After Tess, more than Joel, agrees with Marlene to smuggle Ellie, they split up. Tess goes with Marlene to verify the guns, and you get stuck babysitting. Making your way down to a location that Joel knows about to lay low until Tess meets back up with us. Bickering back and forth about Ellie's age, her connection to Marlene, then mocking she's like 12 years old, Ellie vehemently states she is 14. If you haven't noticed by now, Joel is still wearing the same watch gifted by Sarah the night before the outbreak 20 years ago. A cool detail portrays how obviously hard losing Sarah was on Joel, never completely letting go of that pain. At least that's how I always viewed it. Regardless, it makes you reflect on him losing Sarah yet again. It's a subtle parallel between Sarah and Ellie both being around the same age. Ellie also scoffs his watch is broken, similar to how Joel did with Sarah before Joel falls asleep to kill some time. Joel waking up from seemingly a nightmare while a storm is blistering outside, sending raindrop streams flowing down the sides of the windows. Ellie states that she's never been outside of course being outside the QZ, wondering if it's that bad. Joel's stern look on his face pretty much answers this question. It in fact is that bad. Tess showing up tardy due to soldier patrols being in the vicinity confirms that Marlene has the goods. Off we go with Ellie in hand to deliver her to some Fireflies at the Capitol building some distance away into the city. We head down an elevator by powering on a generator, going through a makeshift tunnel, ascending a ladder up a route hidden by a wooden plank, diligently scouting out the path before letting Tess or Ellie make their way up through the passage. You progress on into the rainy outside path. You weave your way through a Commonwealth Lobster Truck Company before being ambushed by a patrolling Fedra squad.
Don't do anything stupid.
Move.
Turn around, on your knees. You scan him, I'll call it in.
Oh, fuck. I thought we were just gonna hold him up or something.
Holy shit. Look.
Jesus Christ. Marlene set us up? Why the hell are we smuggling an infected girl?
This was a neat way to highlight Ellie's significance from the start. You've already seen Fedra members scanning civilians in the beginning with these detection scanners. You find out Ellie was bitten 3 weeks ago. According to her, Joel outright denies the validity. Reinforcements of Fedra members show up in a Humvee equipped with a turret. Breaking this conversation short, off you run for your life. Stealthily making your way through hordes of Fedra members, hell-bent on killing you, coming equipped with body armor, donning assault rifles, they are noticeably tougher to kill than, say, Robert's men, telling you without saying it aloud that stealth is your friend in this given circumstance. Drudging on through a drainage pipe tunnel while the patrolling members call off the search and vacate the immediate vicinity due to probably 3 people just not being worth the effort.
right, they're gone.
Look, what was the plan? Let's say that we deliver you to the Fireflies. What then?
Marlene, she said that they have their own little quarantine zone with doctors there still trying to find a cure.
Yeah, we've heard that before, huh, Tess?
And that whatever happened to me is the key to finding a vaccine.
Oh, Jesus.
It's what she said.
Oh, I'm sure she did.
Hey, fuck you, man. I didn't ask for this.
Me neither. Tess, what the hell are we doing here?
What if it's true?
I can't...
What if, Joel? I mean, we've come this far. Let's just finish it.
Do I need to remind you what is out there?
I get it.
When Tess says I get it while glancing over at Ellie, I just gotta say this was way too on the nose for me. This game's dialogue, very well written and excellent, with this being the only example off the top of my head that I dislike. There's no connection between Ellie and Joel this early on. Ellie simply being a young girl at or around the same age as Sarah doesn't automatically assume Joel will view Ellie in any similar light. It's probably supposed to highlight Joel is guarded, put up defensive walls around himself to not become vulnerable to that pain again, but even if so, the absence of any meaningful relationship between Joel and Ellie at this given time just makes this line less impactful for me. It also could demonstrate perhaps Tess knows Joel very well, sees things we as a player aren't seeing, as we are still early in the game with the characters at this point. Fast forward some time, you happen upon a dilapidated superstructure, which is the Goldstone building. The area was bombed on the onset of the cordyceps outbreak in an attempt to clear the area of infected. It was successful, killing thousands of infected, effectively made the area unhospitable. In present time of 2033, the military has given up in trying to contain the area, and infected have retaken the surrounding areas back. This whole Goldstone segment is cool, with the leaning building being a visually stunning and awesome set piece to traverse. You run into some corpses, which appear to have been a Fedra scout patrol that seemingly were overrun before being mauled by infected. Exploring the near collapsing rickety building, you encounter your first clicker. Infected have 4 stages of cordyceps in this world, that being a runner, a stalker, a clicker, and a bloater. Clickers are blind, utilizing echolocation to scan its surroundings. I always thought the cordyceps twist on zombies in this game is great. It explores zombies in a new fresh way at the time. Clickers are terrifying with the creepy shrill shrieks they produce. Tess proceeds to throw a bottle to distract the clicker, showing that you don't need to have an outright fight, opting to choose the more ninja approach whenever possible. You have to move very slowly when you're around clickers. They will detect you if you move too fast by causing subtle vibrations, which they can in fact detect on. In order to stealth take down a clicker, you need a shiv. Being extraordinarily powerful physically in this stage of the infection, you can't bare fist brute force a clicker unless they are very close to death. Upon contact with one, they will instantly grab a hold onto you, then bite you, causing your death. Melee weapons also will work on clickers, granted you have one to work with, can be very risky. Melee weapons break comically fast in this game. Moving past your first clicker experience, the band makes its way across some scaffolding, moving into another area of the building. You receive a new weapon here that's iconic to Joel's character, being the revolver, a more powerful version of your normal pistol, albeit with a longer reload speed. This area of infected is basically a test, being one of the first difficult sections you go through, laying a blueprint out of what this game's combat segments are like. You have to deal with some patrolling runners with an idle clicker, emphasizing how each stage of the infected together strengthens and covers each stage's particular blind spots. Descending down the Goldstone building, you reach the bottom floor, happen upon some slain fireflies, one of which has a Molotov cocktail, spicing up your arsenal even further. Infected, now infesting this old subway section as home in pitch black darkness, conjures up a tense horror-like experience. Here you can also find a note with a combination for a safe for some parts or gears, which are utilized at weapon workbenches to upgrade your firearms. Taking out a dormant clicker without alerting the rest of the area, you climb up a ladder to progress on through. After this next area, you just deal with some freshly infected runners, make your way up over a truck before using a commercial chain hoist to open a door, alerting a horde of infected runners to your location.
You got something on your shoe.
Upon entering the loading dock area of the museum, Tess talks to Ellie about the circumstances of her being bitten, questioning why Marlene thinks she's immune, showing some leniency into outright believing her as we did just practically meet her. Ellie says she snuck out into a mall in Boston Tess recognizes is completely off limits. Ellie explains she was alone. If you played Left Behind, you know that's not true. The DLC explores deeper into this backstory of Ellie, further fleshing her out after we finish the main game. Ellie states she was overrun by what we call runners, causing her to seek Marlene out for help. Tess acts shocked that Marlene didn't outright shoot her, with Ellie seemingly having the same thought process, feeling the same way. Making our way into the museum, we hoist up fallen wooden debris with our southern old man strength before the rubble violently gives way, preventing our route through. The noise then attracts infected in the museum to our location, causing us to split up with the fungus freaks coming to dine on our flesh like a happy meal. Sneaking past some more clickers, we approach a shut door with a runner going bonkers, trying to break it down. We throw a brick at the foe into a Hulk smash his face into putty, then find Tess and Ellie fighting for their lives with another runner that got through before they were able to close the door off. Tess overpowers it upon us entering the room, proceeding to explode its brains in zombie fashion with a wooden pole. This whole area with the museum is awesome because it shows colonial artifacts in disarray that were once protected under a bygone civilization through history preservation. Ellie comments, "What is this stuff?" bringing to attention the fact that luxuries such as preserving history aren't yet of importance to this world. Also, just a side note, my favorite thing about any apocalyptic setting is seeing the world just utterly frozen in place. Everything in that time period of society just remains stagnant and never changes, other than the destruction of the elements, looting, or damage from warfare. The Last of Us captures well on the theme of nature recapturing human infrastructures, as without maintaining constant upkeep, nature is free to do as it pleases. It creates beautiful, stunning scenery that is just so fun to traverse through, seeing areas littered with movies, posters, appliances, electronics that you would commonly associate with during 2013 when the outbreak first happened. Getting to the top floor of the museum, we have to overcome a pretty sizable force of runners that mob us before leaving out a window. When Joel asks,
"So is that everything you hoped for?"
his reaction to Ellie's response of being genuinely touched right into an immediate somber reflection back to Sarah, honestly something I missed many times before on previous playthroughs. As obvious as this is, I just now realized it at this point, and it's cool to find the little things in games you love for many years. Sights set on the Capitol building, you move forward with Tess insisting you stay focused on the task at hand. At the Capitol building, you run into some dead fireflies, which doesn't pose well for the prospects of them being alive upon your arrival. Obviously, this game couldn't be this short, so it's easy to put 2 and 2 together even on a first time playthrough. You make your way to the front of the State House, wading into a flooded swamp in front of the building while Ellie states she can't swim at all. Makes sense being born in the QZ zone. I spam my VATS button, keeping an eye out for Swan the Behemoth, and head on up. Upon entering the State House, you discover...
No.
What happens now?
What are you doing, Tess?
Oh, God. Maybe they had a map or something to tell us where they were going.
How far are we gonna take
As
this?
far as it needs to go. Where was this lab of theirs?
Oh, she never said. She only mentioned that it was someplace out west.
What are we doing here? This is not us.
What do you know about us? About me?
I know that you are smarter than this.
Really? Guess what? We're shitty people, Joel. It's been that way for a long time.
No, we are survivors.
This is our chance.
It is over, Tess! Now, we tried. Let's just go home.
I'm not going anywhere. This is my last stop.
What?
Our luck had to run out sooner or later.
You going on?
No, don't! Don't touch me.
Holy shit. She's infected.
You find out that Tess was bitten passing through the museum. I'm just gonna say, Tess is one of my favorite characters in any video game, her death always hitting me hard. I've always speculated the relationship between Tess and Joel. You just know they are partners in crime with smuggling in the QZ zone. How fast she goes out in the game always hits you harder on subsequent playthroughs. She buys us some time. Federal soldiers that most likely wiped out the Fireflies were patrolling the area for possible threat. A reluctant Joel, in a rush shock of the situation, says he can fight. Tess pushes him away, telling us to just get out of here. Tess goes out just as she came in. As a badass, I feel her death is very well done, being impactful and staying consistent to her character. She refuses to become a runner. She stands her ground, bringing down some soldiers in a valiant last stand.
We know you're in there. Drop your weapons and come out with your hands up.
What the fuck? I can't believe we did that.
Stop.
We just left her to die.
Stop. You stay close to me. We have to move.
Oh, man.
Upon arriving upstairs of the Capitol State House, you're pelted with sounds of Tess duking it out with Vedra in a firefight before hearing Tess scream her last breath. I failed to mention earlier, Marlene stated that Tommy used to be a Firefly in the past. Tess brings this back up, stating that Tommy used to run with the Fireflies, would likely know where to take Ellie. Vedra, in pursuit, you leap into an adjoining building with a hole in the wall before receiving another powerful weapon for your disposal, a bolt-action hunting rifle, which is very powerful, comboing well with a swap switch out to arming a pistol for more subsequent shots. Obviously, being bolt action, its long reload speed single shot can be problematic, raising tensions in combat, especially against the infected. You then have to make your way through a squadron of soldiers, again opting for stealth or brute force. I always switch it up at times depending on my resources. Sometimes it's rewarding to just blast through some dudes or take down a group of infected. We make our break down into an old destitute subway tunnel where we then are jumped by a Humvee with a Terminator 2 minigun, brace ourselves onwards before experiencing some spores. Joel straps on his gas mask, continuing when he realizes Ellie didn't even flinch at the spores, proceeding to just breathe it in like nothing. Ellie reinforces the fact she can't swim at all as we make our way through the tunnel. This whole place sets up the expectations of infected. You do indeed see a deceased smuggler that was jumped by a stalker. Stalkers are very rare in this game, being only prominent in two areas really. Stalkers are the transition between runners and clickers. Coming back into the light out of the damp dark tunnel, Joel rehashes the next plan of action.
Hey, look, about Tess. I don't even know what
Here's how this thing's gonna play out. You don't bring up Tess. Ever. Matter of fact, we just keep our histories to ourselves. Secondly, don't tell anybody about your condition. They think you're crazy, they'll try to kill you. And lastly, you do what I say when I say it. We clear?
Sure.
Repeat it.
What you say goes.
Good. Now there's a town a few miles north of here. There's a fella there that owes me some favors. Good chance he could get us a car.
Okay.
Let's get a move on.
Fast track to the outskirts of the town Lincoln, Ellie gets to stroll through the woods for her first time, seeing various cute critters with a backdrop beautiful sunset piercing through the tree limb. On the search for a man named Bill who lives here, we have to find an alternative route around a gated barbed wire fence using a plank to access the roofs while getting another badass upgrade for melee weapons added to our crafting section. Inside the perimeter of Lincoln, you come across some clickers, one being in a shed and the other near a basketball court. I also failed to mention, some players don't realize clickers actually have a roar-like ability that sends out a sonic echolocation, which, if you're in front of the invisible cone wave, they will detect you. It's why I've seen some players complain how clickers find out where they are even when they're not moving. You have to be behind them or in a line of sight to avoid this detection sound wave when they roar and send it out. Just like me, we learned that Ellie never learned how to whistle. Why she's trying to learn how to whistle in an apocalyptic world where sound detecting fungus zombies are trying to rip out your throat is one of the best memes to come from this game. We also open a door with a shiv, giving some extra loot and ammo. Shivs are used to open lock doors or stealth take down a clicker, or with the med perk to save yourself from a clicker grab in combat.
Hey, look. Gnomes.
Yeah, those are gnomes.
Man, I had an art book filled with these. I always thought they were super cute. Not fairies, though. They creep me out.
All right, man.
The game is filled with these little heartfelt moments. You slowly see Joel open up. The Last of Us is Ellie and Joel. It's what makes the game so special. Here in Lincoln, you run into an arcade, a music store, all while Ellie comments various things such as, the record's just sitting here with no one to listen to them. A Mortal Kombat-esque arcade game with a playable character named Angel Knives. Again reflecting on the past civilization, focusing on the dangerous world ahead. Up some ways, stumble upon your first Bill Booby Trap Incorporated, a clicker gets obliterated. Up and over onto some rooftops, you find a bow ripe for the taking. A great stealth utility weapon, chance to retrieve arrows for a source of replenishable ammo. You run into some more booby traps which I deflect by throwing some bricks to set them off. Hearing some commotion in a building down the way, upon investigating it you find a source of the ruckus, a runner, which I take out with a bottle then a bow. You find a note here from a man named Ezra who waited for his significant other Rachel for as long as he could before his hands were tied, proceeding to pack up some stuff then fleeing to the QZ zone. Ellie asks,
You think they ever found each other?
How the hell would I know?
Well, I'd like to think they did.
Back on route to finding the enigmatic Bill, you deal with one more booby trap before coming to a closed door. Picking up whatever resources we can find, move on through to such an awesome sequence. Getting swarmed by a horde of infected, alerted to our presence, we have to deal with them hanging upside down. You actually have unlimited ammo in this section. Ellie works on cutting the rope attached to the refrigerator, which is the counterweight. Using her switchblade, we have to defend ourselves against oncoming infected threats. Eventually, Ellie gets the rope cut partially when we're hoisted up farther, leaving us invulnerable to the horde. Have to protect Ellie so she can continue to go back to focusing on getting the rest of the threads cut. She finally gets through the rope, then we fall down with a runner swiftly and violently coming on top of us. The runner gnashing and gnawing, all while salivating onto us. We are then out of nowhere saved by a large robust man wearing a gas mask, donning a machete. Being Lincoln is Bill's town, it's safe to assume that this is in fact Bill, so we sprint through a section into a locked door Bill has the key to. Infected swarming through the perimeters, I stave off a couple before making our way into a laundromat, dealing with a couple more threats, hightailing it into another door closed behind us by Bill. Infected slam the door in desperation at reaching us.
Close. Thanks for the heroics and all. Ellie. Hey, what are you... Joel?
Bill!
What are you doing?
Bill!
Let me go.
Turn around and get on your knees.
Just calm down a second.
Turn around
All right.
and get on your knees. Don't test me. Just
Take it easy.
any bites. Oh. Anything sprouting?
Oh, God damn it, I'm clean!
If I see so much as a twig. Ow! Stop!
Son of a bitch!
You done?
Am I done? You come into my house, you set off all my traps, you damn near break my shooting arm. Who the fuck is this punk and what's she doing here?
I am none of your goddamn business, and we're here because you owe Joel some favors. And you can start by taking these off.
I owe Joel some favors. Is some kind of joke?
I'll cut to the chase. I need a car.
Well, it is a joke. Joel needs a car. Well, if I had one that works, which I sure as hell don't, what makes you think I'd just give it to you? Huh? Yeah, sure, Joel, go ahead. Take my car. Take all my food, too, while you're at it.
By the looks of it, you could lose some of that food.
Listen to me, you little shit.
No, fuck you! You handcuffed
I
me.
need you to shut up. All right?
It's actually good Ellie was able to break free from the pipe Bill handcuffed her to. Bill being paranoid about getting infected is totally a logical way of thinking, of course, would have most likely, on reveal of Ellie's bite mark, have executed her. Ellie is hilarious here, realizing why I viewed her as a sassy young girl, remarking derogatorily towards Bill's weight. Bill reluctantly agreeing to try to get us some working parts for a car. He discloses that a Fedra truck was scouting Lincoln out for supplies before being overrun by some infected, then ended up crashing into the side of the Lincoln High School. He comments how the trucks are extremely durable, just sitting there with a perfectly good battery to retrieve, informing us that the area is off limits due to being extremely dangerous and overrun by infected, stating that he never goes there himself. Our new plan rehashed upon, Bill insists we take any supplies we might need before heading off to his hideout. Bill is quite the character, often talking to himself, a product of loneliness. Bill was known by both Tess and Joel, scrounging up stuff like pills to trade with them. Obviously being more of a free spirit, he chose to live alone in Lincoln instead of the QZ zone, cleverly using infected as a deterrent, throwing down booby traps for any suspecting would-be trespassers. Coming up to this part of Lincoln, you see warning signs to anyone who ventures into Bill's town, such as will shoot on sight, no trespassing. On our way to his residence, combat some more infected broke through. Bill states was his fault due to not fixing the fences and neglecting the simple shit. Locking up a gate behind him, we make our way into a church cellar where Bill resides.
Here we are. You don't touch anything. And you close the door. Let's gear up.
What? I need a gun.
No, you don't.
Joel, I can handle myself.
No. Just stay here.
Fine. Just wait around for you two to get me killed.
Well, this goes on record as the worst fucking job you've ever taken.
It's up there.
How in the hell is Tess okay with this suicide mission?
It's actually her idea.
Really? Well, the broad's not as smart as I thought she was. But, fuck her. Seriously, you gotta take that kid back to where you found her.
I can't just take her back.
Then send her packing, let her find her own way. Look, let me tell you a story. Once upon a time, I had somebody that I cared about. A partner. Somebody I had to look after. And in this world, that sort of shit's good for one thing. Getting you killed. So you know what I did? I wisened the fuck up. And I realized it's gotta be just me.
Bill, it ain't like that. It's
bullshit. It is just like that. Hey! What'd I say to you when we walked down the steps? What'd I say?
I'm just fixing your stupid pile.
Don't touch. Damn it. You keep babysitting long enough, and eventually it's gonna blow up in your face.
Can we please just get on with it?
Here. Let's get on with it.
Big Bill hooking us up with a shotgun and a new consumable item called the nail bomb, which is essentially a throwable proximity mine. We grab a tools upgrade and some other resources before heading upstairs to confess our sins.
Well, if you got anything to confess, this would be the place to do it.
Climbing outside the church window, we're greeted by a beautiful sunset, lighting up Lincoln. Through a clicker-infested graveyard, Bill states is all new territory to him. Bill also mentioned he wasn't always alone, having a partner with him living here at one time, someone he used to care for. To Bill, relationships aren't worth much in this world. This fleshes out while deepening Bill's character from the typical eccentric hermit persona. I always assumed after losing his friend, he grew more bitter over time. It also emphasizes the mentality of the universe, which I always put this emphasis back on Joel and Ellie's relationship in a way. Dark as a game The Last of Us certainly is, for me personally, I always viewed it as a story about hope overall. For if not surrounded by the people you care about to experience life with, you'd be like Bill, trapped in a town surrounded by infected, no one but yourself. This world is survival, which I understand. Bill's character is still the more extreme pessimistic viewpoint, even for this world. You can still survive, perhaps thrive, with people you care about, helping each other out in numbers. The world is abundant of hostile infected, ruthless hunters, which are basically just this world's bandits. So to have someone watching your back while also having them for a relationship to care for seems best of both worlds to me. From a survivalist standpoint though, maybe Bill is right. I always ponder that scenario. I don't know. Bill bringing up Tess obviously hits deep with Joel. He fails to mention anything about her passing. Much like Tess and Joel's relationship, all you can assume about Bill is he is just some guy we made smuggling connections with for items to smuggle back into the Boston QZ for some form of profit. A lot of stuff remains off screen, like what Joel or Tess even wanted the large firearms from Robert for in the first place. Were they going to cause a rebellion by trying to take over the QZ, or perhaps start their own settlement elsewhere, is left for the player to speculate. Putting to good use on Bill's gift of the nail bombs, clear a suburban neighborhood of infected while scavenging any resources we can muster. We make our way through to a tide on the other side of the door, fitted with a doggy door. Ellie says she can fit through to unlock it. Bill remarks maybe she should have a gun, Joel refusing to let Ellie at this point be armed. Progressing forward past some clickers, which are thankfully in a inactive dormant state, not being very vigilant, making an easy pass by them, no trouble whatsoever. We climb onto a RV, passing through a treehouse, dropping into a backyard, fitted with a long forsaken swimming pool. This is actually an Easter egg by Naughty Dog. This looks very close to Clementine's house in Telltale's The Walking Dead game. This game has some cool Easter eggs, PS3 systems throughout, Jack and Dexter plush toys, among other neat things to find if you put the time in paying attention to the world. Through onto Lincoln's high school, I put in some work with archery, taking out some runners, heading our way forward to climbing on top, then proceeding over a school bus. It's trippy seeing all the school buses, group field trip banners across them, which were probably the field trip from hell. Overrun by a massive horde of infected, forcing us to hightail it into a sliding glass window with a clicker right on our tail.
That's not gonna hold.
We'll make it fast. Grab this. Please tell me you're done.
It's empty.
What?
Fucking empty!
Guys!
Bill, where to? Bill, where?
Anywhere but here.
You ready to haul ass? Come on. They're poking through.
Coming up empty-handed with no battery in the Fedra truck, all infection-risking efforts in vain, hightail it from a mob of infected further into the high school. This area is awesome. I don't know why. I always love school or medical settings in apocalyptic mediums. The dark empty halls filled with infected point out this horror story of what these kids and staff 20 years earlier must have gone through. Deal with some runners, clickers, passing through an auditorium door, barring it shut before get to experience our first big boy. With good use of a Molotov cocktail, some shotgun rounds, and a nail bomb, we quickly decimate the bloater. Bloaters are the strongest form of infected in this game, having been infected for very long periods of time. It states that in order to become a bloater, a victim needs to be infected for anywhere between 10 to 15 years. Being at this point are completely decked out in rugged fungal plates, possess immense strength, are able to charge kill in one shot by one of the most gruesome kill cams ever. Executing the bloater, pop up some bleachers running for our life. Infected seemingly everywhere from all sides swarming to our location. Run down a neighborhood street and make use of a ladder to get over a fence into a home with sounds of fungus freakazoids all around.
Inside the house now.
So that worked out well. I'll go check out this side of the house.
Bill?
Somebody had the same idea. They stole my shit.
Well, then what the hell is plan B?
You ought to be thankful you're still drawing breath. That was plan A, B, C, all the way to fucking Z. And furthermore, tell Tess that she could take this job.
Don't you bring Tess
she
into
can
this.
shove it right
It
up
has nothing
her
to do with... Jesus. What, you know this guy or something?
Frank.
Who the hell's Frank?
He was my partner. He's the only idiot that would wear a shirt like that. He's got bites. Here. And
Reckon he didn't want to turn, so he...
yeah, I guess not. Well, fuck him.
Look what I found. It's got some juice in it.
That's my battery. That fucking asshole.
Discovering Frank at this point was a good way to bring Bill's character back around in the sense he mentioned his partner briefly back at the church cellar. Instantly, you can see the pain in Bill's eyes upon the realization it is in fact Frank. It's heavily implied Frank and Bill were intimate, being more than just friends. This isn't conclusive, of course, being debatable. I always saw it in this way. Despite Bill being portrayed as bitter, non-caring of others, he clearly cared about Frank. You find a note left by Frank upon scavenging the room nearby, basically says he hates Bill and his set-in ways, and was growing loathsome of the town, wanting more from life than Bill or Lincoln could offer. Frank set off by himself to fetch the battery at the high school, got bitten in the process. Choosing to take his own life instead of turning, this whole scenario is just very sad. Bill being a pretty minor character, this whole plot pretty much full circles his arc. Side characters in this game are superb, with them all being very relatable. I always feel awful for Bill because I can't even imagine this scenario of losing someone in this way. Bill is extremely paranoid by locking himself out from the hostile world is one of the character traits that makes Bill a capable survivor. Despite his stubbornness, or as Frank puts it, his set-in ways, being paramount to his survival, it also drove off someone he cared for, perhaps even loved. Frank's corpse beyond decomposition at this point in the game, meaning it probably was a while that Bill has been alone without Frank, makes you sympathize even more for Bill. You can choose to give Frank's letter to Bill, with the game leaving it totally up to you. Personally, I usually don't. You can argue it's some form of closure for Bill. With Frank writing he hates Bill's guts and would rather die than spend another day with him, I don't know. I usually don't. The game gives you that option, whichever way you choose.
Battery's drained, but cells are alive.
Meaning?
Meaning, we push it, get it started, and the alternator will recharge the battery.
Is that your guess?
Look, you wanted a plan B. This is as good as it gets.
What are you thinking?
Thinking you drive and we push.
Putting our plan to action, open the garage door, then set off to pushing the hunk of metal. Ellie failing to pop the clutch, according to Bill at least, for the first time, you have to continuously push, then go back to fighting infected, then pushing again. It's a fun gameplay segment to finalize Bill's Town's chapter. Eventually, third time's the charm, Ellie gets the engine running, sprint into the truck's bed, followed by Ellie flooring it, leaving the undead Goombas hungry. More ways down the road, Bill calls out for Ellie to stop the truck, also giving us a gas siphoner. Bill quips, plenty of cars still have gas in them. After these events, I always wondered what happened to Bill. I like to think he's still alive, thriving in Lincoln from a physicality perspective, nurturing insanity from his isolation. Anything can happen though, with the possibility of him being overrun by infected for simple mistakes like neglecting the simple shit. Bill is the perfect example of someone we in a civilized society might deem as unhealthy. In this context, totally makes sense. I always got the CIA is planting a microchip in my brain from certain television programs vibes from Bill. In this setting, people like that could actually prosper. In an unhealthy world where infected or people both are equally deadly, it's not like there's much worth even seeking out in the first place. Letting antisocial tendencies actually be healthy in this world. A subtle thing I always notice at the end with Bill is he had a blast on this adventure despite the dangerous endeavor. His chuckle of,
"You ain't gonna make it,"
to me shows sometimes in life it's worth living despite the risk. Being cooped up in relative safety day in and day out, locked down primarily in a church, might be the smarter thing to do. You can genuinely tell he had the most excitement probably in days when Joel and Ellie came into Bill's town. He wishes us the best. We cruise on down the road.
and get the fuck out of my town.
Oh, man.
Hey, what happened to sleeping?
Okay, I know it doesn't look like it, but this here is not a bad read. Only one problem. Right there. To be continued. I hate cliffhangers.
Where did you get that?
Back at Bill's. I mean, all this stuff was just lying there.
What else did you get?
Well... Here. This make you all nostalgic?
You know, that is actually before my time. That is a winner, though. Oh, man.
Well, better than nothing. Oh. I'm sure your friend will be missing this tonight.
Mm-hmm.
It's light on the reading, but it's got some interesting photos.
Now, Ellie, that ain't for kids.
Whoa! How the hell would he even walk around with that thing?
Get rid of that.
Well, hold your horses. I want to see what all the fuss is about. Oh. Why are these all stuck together? I'm just fucking with you. Bye-bye, dude. You know what? This isn't that bad.
Why don't you try to get some sleep? Right.
I'm not even tired.
Oh, perfect.
Easy.
Please!
Holy shit.
Help!
Are we gonna help him?
Put your seatbelt on, Ellie.
Well, what about the guy?
He ain't even hurt.
Joel instantly sees right through a feign injured man being a complete farce in order for them to stop. It's also noticeable when Joel turned into Pittsburgh, I always realized the abundance of the stacked cars preventing any way forward past the city. This was blatantly set up to funnel people into the death trap that is Pittsburgh, which always beckons me to question how much people are driving around in this universe. We know the military has access to vehicles and even produce produce new parts and batteries stated by Bill. But for civilians, I always wondered how rare it would be to get a working car 20 plus years after the outbreak. Without upkeep or maintenance, probably very hard. An intricate and elaborate ambush plot these hunters had set up just waiting for victims, while even pushing a stationary city bus, literally waiting to be used on any passing vehicles, shows this must happen quite a bit for the effort being worth the energy.
Motherfucker! What's wrong with these guys?
Catch your breath. We're leaving.
Okay. Watch out!
Stay down!
As we're welcomed to Pittsburgh, we have to deal with the rest of the Hunter's ambush. Gameplay in The Last of Us, I've heard often described as clunky, janky, even it being downright terrible. Gameplay for me is good. It's not fantastic or anything. I think people overstate the jank or clunkiness. Clips in this video thus far are primarily on Grounded. Some are on easy difficulty when I had to go back to get some more footage that I missed. Most of the gameplay segments being from my Grounded playthrough. Stealth mechanics are pretty bare bones, yet overall pretty satisfying. On Grounded difficulty, survival horror mechanics really come into play, every shot counting. Resources used for either a medkit or a Molotov actually being meaningful. Fighting head on or opting to stealthing through sections affects your playthrough down the road. I've already said you can hardlock yourself with resources pretty easily on Grounded. Some of the stealth sections being very difficult to get by. You have to choose resource management wisely. Enemy AI isn't terrible. They will flank to your position upon you blowing your cover. There are times when enemy AI seemingly freezes in place, causing them to just stand still like they were hit by Medusa's gaze, becoming a statue. But overall, they follow simple AI pathing while also flanking, taking cover, being relatively intelligent. On Grounded, it's very realistic with only a couple of gunshots causing your death, even from full health. Weapons are also satisfying upgrades you can use from gears to basically add mods to them. Stealth utility from the bow is great, taking out humans or infected. The hunting rifle for a powerful single shot that can also be upgraded with armor-piercing rounds vastly improves its power. Pistols for fast-paced close to mid and far-range combat, and of course the beast that is a shotgun for close combat, being amazing for one-shotting clickers. Killing off the rest of the hunters, we find out that yeah, this whole elaborate scheme was worth the energy. We directly see the goods it produces, strong-arming random innocent survivors. Pittsburgh does a good job at making you feel trapped. It's not a place anyone wants to be in 2033. Non-infected humans having the capacity to be as predatory as the zombies, both being massive threats in this world. On a shelf is another tools upgrade, allowing further upgrades to your firearms. Also receiving smoke bombs, which are great offensively or defensively. You head upstairs searching out a way through, you unravel some more of Joel's backstory. Joel wasn't always a good guy. I hate to use good or bad though, The Last of Us isn't entirely about good or bad. Joel explains he knew the man was faking being injured because he, quote, has been on both sides. This invigorates the idea of what happened to Joel and Tommy after Sarah's death. I always wanted a DLC further fleshing out this time period. I don't know, it was only 20 years. It's interesting though because the capacity for being morally off-skewed fits in line with Joel's character. Joel is very protective yet persistent in getting his way, a superb trait for survivalism. Justifying certain things based off your perception alone takes right or wrong out of the equation, becoming just a means to an end. Surviving in this world no doubt would force good people to do terrible things regardless if they wanted to or not. Joel mentioning he's been on both sides, both being a hunter and a victim, shows the dog-eat-dog world this game is set in, making you analyze how far did he go. Everyone's psyche was shattered upon the outbreak, losing everything familiar from the past society, all thrown in the trash. Humanity started anew, resetting the clock, reverting it back to more primal years of mankind. Joel losing Sarah along with the rest of this burden would have drove anyone mad, but it always makes me curious. How far did Joel go in this direction? It makes you wonder.
I don't think these guys were infected.
Well, it don't matter. Let's just keep moving.
Jumping down the side of the building, come across graffiti sprayed that is written, "How long can they keep us safe? What's to come up ahead?" Striving on through an empty bus, you find a Savage Starlight comic, like the one Ellie snagged from Bill's place. These are purely collectibles, yet a totally cool, just fun series of comic books Joel says Ellie would love. We lay low from some more hunters that are patrolling back towards the ambush site direction. Chatting about meeting up with the lookout crew, they slowly pass us by. After passing us by, we climb up over a bus into a QZ gate. It's interesting seeing the dichotomy between the beginning of the game in Boston to this one. Pittsburgh's backstory is interesting. There was a mutiny against the soldiers that was perpetuated by the Fireflies, bringing up that the Fireflies are powerful. Since Ellie remarked they have a base out west, and the presence we saw in Boston basically confirming they are all across America. In the game, it never states the politics or leadership of the Fireflies other than Marlene. There has to be other leaders of certain groups from afar that communicate with Marlene. In Pittsburgh, the Fireflies situated themselves in the Fedra QZ. Tensions running high among Pittsburgh citizens and the military, the Fireflies caused a revolution, conjuring rebels from the disgruntled people of the zone. Rations here were also running low. A drawn-out uprising with brutal warfare between the citizens turned rebels against the military lasted over a year, with the rebels finally coming out victorious, retaking the zone back for themselves. These rebels being now the hunters we are experiencing. Showing as bad as it gets, food and resources running low, Fedra at some level keeps civility to some degree. With no laws, or in this case, no structure, people do whatever they want, this being the end product. A neat socio-political representation mirrors an extreme opposite of Boston. Passing through a military baffle gate, we bump into some more hunters. Hunters dominate this area, being very abundant. This section is tough to stealth, so I utilize the hunting rifle, then chucking a smoke bomb as a form of distraction, continuing running for my life upstairs. Barely making it through while soaking up some bullets, we descend a steel staircase, passing some hanged soldiers with graffiti messaging, "Another 3 soldiers, what's it going to take to give up?" Joel also tells Ellie most of the QZ zones look like this now, long having been abandoned, Fedra ever shrinking probably across the country in similar ways to Pittsburgh most likely, or being overrun by infected also being a possibility. Through another Fedra gate we see more graffiti written in black, "Stop feeding us lies, give us our rations," showing the instability from within probably before the rebellion even occurred. Hunger tends to bring out the beast in men. The Fireflies didn't need much of a push to invoke this revolt. Ironically, the rebels turn against the Firefly agitators themselves, primarily because the citizens did most of the legwork in the infighting, seeing them as rightful to lead and control the city as their own zone. They even chased down, capturing remaining subsequent Fireflies, hanging them publicly along with soldiers. This pretty much shows the Fireflies are power hungry. They were also fighting with Fedra in Boston, unable to come out victorious, being chased out of the city instead. These factions' conflicts being primarily off-screen causes the player to be inquisitive, letting you fill in the blanks with your own imagination. I've already stated this earlier, it does make you think about who's better for the world, the Fireflies or Fedra. etc. Fireflies being a paramilitary group touting a good cause, searching for a cure or something more, does make you think, is this just a deadweight slogan? Their actions lean more towards terrorism. Like most massive groups spanning across large areas, they fall victim to the same broken leadership pitfalls, losing sight of objectives for one common goal. Regardless, objectively speaking, the Fireflies hit every definition of a terrorist. Being a guerrilla warfare group, recruits based off changing or revolutionizing the world, entrapping naive people to their ranks. Instead of opting to build or protect their own QZ zones, start up their own developments to protect their own people, constantly attack Fedra bases. I sincerely don't view them as evil, yet this still doesn't subtract from the issue of it being a sensationalized extreme group breeds warfare, responding to opposition with violence otherwise could completely be avoided.
Down. Get out of here. There's more of them. All right. I don't think they saw us. What the hell? Oh, this place is bad.
Finding ourselves in a flooded area, swimming through to a section of a derelict building that used to be a coffee shop. Joel loves coffee, remarking to Ellie he used to visit coffee shops often back in the day. Ordering coffee. Just coffee. I see Joel as a black coffee drinker for sure. You also hear some hunters chase down some people with a military vehicle they acquired from the rebellion, bypassing the flooded area over a truck utilizing wooden planks to span across, reach where the hunters were walking to. This is the Hotel Grand, a luxury hotel. It used to belong to Fedra as a base of operations. During the insurrection, the hunters took it over now, patrolling the area for any infected threats. We have some funny interactions between Joel and Ellie, like when Ellie pretends in a mockingly sultry voice to be a receptionist while also offering to take Joel's luggage. Joel also states this hotel was far too rich for his taste back in his day. He's a Texan country boy, not no fancy city slicker for Pete's sakes. Well, I suppose he did live in Austin, so what do I know? Using a ladder found in the area, we make our way up to a higher level floor before Ellie whips out a legendary pun book.
Okay, we need to lighten the mood. Ready? It doesn't matter how much you push the envelope, it'll still be stationary.
What is that?
It's a joke book. No pun intended. Volume 2 by Will Livingston.
Let's keep going.
I tried to catch some fog earlier. I missed. Do you know what's not right?
Left?
Yeah. That's awesome. What does a pirate say while eating sushi?
I don't know what.
Ahoy! Pass me some soy. I don't get it. People are making apocalypse jokes like there's no tomorrow. Too soon.
Upstairs, we have to dispatch some hunters patrolling around talking about not seeing a clicker for weeks. The other guy mentioning it's from being thorough, keeping any infected threats at bay, automatically indicating they have problems with infected here in the Hotel Grand. The infected are creepy in the sense there are huge skyscrapers, destroyed blocked off entrances, subsets of pockets, just trapping in large groups of infected, creating their own dark isolated ecosystems. Viewing buildings in this game from afar always puts this in the back of my mind, how these high-rise buildings entrap nightmare fuel of cordyceps just growing, producing, while runners and clickers roam around screeching, screaming in deafening pitch damp black darkness. Gives me the EBGBs.
Find me something to climb on. Okay, here we go. There we go. There you go. okay?
No! You scared the shit out of me!
Screwed over from the elevator, land in some water, swimming through some tunnels, finding ourselves in a damp, dark, infected lion's lair. Initially, there isn't any active infected patrolling around. Gaining access to a ID hotel swipe card from a janitor named Jack Zolovinsky, you experience some creepy ass stalkers. Stalkers are very rare, being here then later on in the sewer tunnels. Stalkers are the in-between stages of an infected runner before blossoming into a full-blown clicker. They are more human-like than runners or clickers, possessing some form of intelligence, actively stalk prey while also hiding by taking cover, flanking prey within groups in this section. This section is very creepy, with the tense music enhancing the experience. Stalkers run around hiding behind corners. You're locked in here by an electronic powered door, having to both use Jack's swipe card and powering on a generator, which alerts more infected to the area. Upon powering on this generator, this spawns more stalkers, along with a bloater, chose to run by, making it in the nick of time to get through before having to deal with it. I honestly hate this part in a good way, but it coincides well with the Pittsburgh chapter, making you feel helpless, trapped, leading you to feel claustrophobic. It's a cool contrast between the sinister sides of both men in this universe and infected. Assassinating more hunters in a kitchen onwards into a restaurant, we climb up a ladder before being ambushed by a hunter via kick to the face.
I shot the hell out of that guy, huh?
Yeah, you sure did.
I feel sick.
And you just hang back like I told you to.
Well, you're glad I didn't, right?
I'm glad I didn't get my head blown off by a goddamn kid.
You know what? No. How about, hey, Ellie, I know it wasn't easy, but it was either him or me. Thanks for saving my ass. You got anything like that for me, Joel?
We gotta get going.
Lead the way.
Joel being protective here blinds his ability to see that he did require help. He knows this though, it's purely to protect Ellie, angry that she put herself in danger's way, yet again showing this characteristic of Joel's. Ellie becomes down on herself, pissed off at Joel from this moment on, for a little bit. Downstairs run into a decorated prom room fitted with a backdrop for photos, exemplifying again the sudden downfall of everything. It's spooky seeing monumental moments within people's lives frozen in time, derelict, desolate of any remaining humanity. Ellie throwing some shade at us, requiring her help to put a grand piano within the Grand Hotel to good use, hop up onto the top floor, making through a bar coming into the financial district section.
Oh, shit. Come here, keep your head down. All right, now, I'm gonna jump down there and I'm gonna clear us a path.
What about me?
You stay here.
This is so stupid. We'd have more of a fucking chance if you let me help.
I am. You seem to know your way around a gun. You reckon you can handle that?
Well, I sort of shot a rifle before, but it was at rats
Rats?
with BBs.
Well, it's the same basic concept. Lift it up. All right, now. You're gonna lean right into that stock, as it is gonna kick a hell of a lot more than any baby rifle.
Okay.
Go ahead and pull the bolt back. Grab it right there. Just tug it. There you go. And as soon as you fire, you're gonna want to get another round in there quick. Listen to me. If I get into trouble down there, you make every shot count. Yeah?
I got this.
All right. And just so we're clear about back there, It was either him or me.
You're welcome.
The hell's he yapping about? Take a breath. Who's dead?
The whole crew. The 76 lookout guy. Some fucking tourist killed him.
Get up.
How'd I do?
How about something a little more your size? It's for emergencies only.
Okay.
The hunters were also barbecuing rats exactly like in the Boston slums. A cool nod that life here is just as rough. Also a cool nod to Ellie shooting rats with BBs. The area being dubbed the financial district due to the Meridian Bank located within this business plaza. It's a tough area, having numerous hunters you're required to dispatch of. Ellie coming clutch with the snipes definitely comes to our aid in this section, lifting an industrial garage door, proceeding to another ghastly confrontation, yet this time in full view of the hunter's Humvee they acquired from taking over Fedra. Equipped with a once victimized corpse strapped on the hood, lined with barbed wire in the back, messaging the words run, taunting any would-be casualties. It's a sad scene. The girl who was shot down saw us before being finally executed, shot and killed over nothing at all. So is the world.
Damn, no food, old pair of shoes. We got nothing. Let's go.
Experiencing the Humvee again, this time stationary with the engine idling in the background, permeating a very unsettling feeling as you Assassin's Creed hunters chit-chatting about finding a whole stash of bacon. In between this section, you also come to a military preparatory school, which Ellie states she was enrolled back in Boston, labeling it more of an orphanage. Fedra trains orphan kids to become soldiers. You see as early as the very beginning of the game after 20 years later upon leaving with Tess to go find Robert. Two unnamed NPCs ask he's been drafted for soldier duty, anyone possibly a commodity to Fedra. Honestly though, Ellie's badass nature despite her age probably gives some credence to this military training. Despite her not being fully trained in firearms yet, she is still quite capable. Forward some ways into a building, it seems the Humvee isn't aware of your presence, but despite anything you do to my knowledge, it will become hostile at this point, opening fire while spawning some hunters to your location. Galloping down a back alley street, literally getting shot at with the Terminator 2 minigun, you ascend some stairs in a building before trapezing across some narrow building ledges, Humvee in full pursuit below, then into a open window before
Look!
Leave him alone.
Easy, son. Just take it easy.
It's all right. They're not the bad guys. Lower the gun. Man, you hit hard.
Yeah, well, I was trying to kill you.
Yeah, I thought you were one of them too. Then I saw you. If you haven't noticed, they don't keep kids around. Survival of the fittest.
You're bleeding.
It's just nothing. I'm Henry. This is Sam.
Meeting Henry, you automatically can relate to him. He's protecting his younger brother in an identical situation to us, both being trapped in this hellhole. Sam is adorable, being 13 years old, possibly even younger. Ellie and Sam instantly connect, so heartwarming. It demonstrates the relatability of having peers around your same age group. It's not shocking that children outside of the QZ zones or fortified bases somewhere in a community are pretty rare in the waste of the cordyceps blanketed world. Henry realizes we aren't hunters right when he lays eyes on Ellie. Children don't really bring any assets to the world outside maybe labor or other dark nefarious things. It's just another mouth to feed. Sam discloses he has a hideout nearby, being much safer to chat there, possible hunters patrolling around. Destination Henry's hideout leads us through a toy shop with more aforementioned Easter eggs, this time being an Uncharted and a Jak and Daxter board game resting upon a shelf. Sam also tried to take a toy robot for himself, with Henry coming down hard on him, stating their set rules of only taking what they have to. A way to show, not tell, that this world is no fun or games, pretty much muting or ridding any childhood desires. You have to grow up quick. Ellie also snags this for Sam, even being able to visually see it removed off the floor once you turn your back to Ellie, but not able to see her do the act itself.
Welcome to my office.
How long have you guys been holed up in here?
A few days. We found a bit of food, though. Here.
Blueberries. Found a whole stash of them. You want some?
No.
Hey man, relax. We're safe.
So why haven't you left?
Been waiting for the right opportunity.
And?
Here. Check this out. Look at these sons of bitches. Every day they congregate down there, guarding that damn bridge. Come nighttime, it's down to a skeleton crew. After sunset, that's our window. Most of them gone, sneak right past them.
That could work.
Oh, it'll work. It'll definitely work.
This whole small section with the patrolling Humvee outside the toy store, then to dealing with a couple more hunters en route to the hideout, contrasts well with meeting Henry and Sam. Henry coming down on his younger brother to not take or bother with a toy, it being a useless resource. Henry and Sam as characters make you reflect more upon the dynamic of Joel and Ellie. Ellie is very mature for her age. I know it's silly to say, many times I forget Ellie is as young as she is. Not literally, but her character shows that this world forces you to grow up fast. Ellie never knew her mother. She knows Marlene was good friends with her. Ellie's mother also was a nurse. Outside of this knowledge, she was pretty much raised with Marlene at a young age, then put into boarding school. It's interesting, Marlene didn't want Ellie to become a Firefly member. This always hearkening to the fact perhaps she cared for Ellie beyond making her a foot soldier for her militia group, or not being the one responsible for her death. Fedra soldiers still live rough, dangerous lives we've seen thus far. I don't know, but it's odd she didn't raise Ellie to become a Firefly member, literally putting her in opposition to people who are trained to combat Fireflies. The point I'm getting across is Ellie has been largely held responsible beyond most normal 14-year-old kids' standards. This whole section with Henry and Sam mirrors this fact that it's rough for everyone, with adults not being able to shield the grotesque nature that is the reality of the situation they're in. I always think back to when I was 12 to 14 years of age, the thought of having to deal with this being mind-boggling.
He says it's time to go.
No, we're gonna be moving fast, okay? So no matter what, you stick to me like glue.
Like glue.
Like glue.
Got it.
Good, good. All right, y'all ready?
Yeah.
Okay.
Henry's plan of action, getting through a hunter checkpoint. This section is kind of odd. You have to power down a generator, then forces hunters to drop down, continuously searching for your whereabouts. What makes it confusing, can't really sneak past this section, forcing you to deal with the skeleton crew. Perhaps there is a way that I haven't been able to execute properly. Heard a lot of people get confused on this section. Also seeing the perplexity happen on some streamers playing it for the first time. Pass through the gate, we're forced to run when the hunter's Humvee bashes down the gate. We attempt to make it up onto a truck, everyone succeeding except for Joel. The Humvee breaking through, Henry yells he's leaving with a reluctant Sam and a pissed off Ellie. Instead, she decides to jump back down to, quote, "We stick together." I never fully blamed Henry for this at all. The reaction to players I've seen play this part are either disgust or anger or understanding, with me falling into the latter. There was no way to know if there was a route back out, therefore jumping back down, putting your life in danger willingly, along with your little brother, is purely fight or flight within a split decision, which Henry didn't want to take the risk. Through a bar, resistance comes back in full force with some hunters. We have to take some down before entering through a small opening in a chain door, Humvee breaking through yet another gate, forcing us to Leroy Jenkins for the hills.
How many bullets do you have left?
They're gonna kill us.
What other choice do we have?
We jump.
No, it's too high and you can't swim. I'll boost you up, you run past them.
You keep me afloat.
Ellie!
No time to argue.
Ellie! Damn it! Ah!
Henry! He's awake!
Hey, you. We're alive. Okay.
See? What'd I tell you, huh? He's good. Everything's fine. You know, Sam's the one who spotted you. You guys are taking quite a bit of water.
What's wrong?
Henry!
Get back,
hey,
son!
Hey! He's pissed, but he's not gonna do anything.
You sure about that?
Stop!
Joel?
He left us to die out there.
No, you had a good chance of making it, and you did. But coming back for you meant putting him at risk. Stay back. If it was the other way around, would you have come back for us? I saved you.
You saved me too. We would have drowned.
It's fine, I'm okay. You know, for what it's worth, I'm really glad we spotted you. Now, that radio tower, it's on the other side of this cliff. Okay? Place is gonna be full of supplies. You're gonna be really happy you didn't kill me.
On the beach, cute crabs scurry about. We approach some wreckage of a boat. Upon being rescued by Henry, this starts a new chapter. This is the suburbs chapter. This cutscene also asks the player and Joel, would he have jumped down if it was the other way around? Joel wouldn't have. His expression frankly answers this. Even he knows he would have not done the same thing as Henry. Everything we have seen of Joel's character thus far, not only would Joel have not jumped down, he wouldn't have even came back or attempted to rescue them at all like Henry did, instead choosing to protect Ellie, then vacate the immediate vicinity. This hammers Joel's character yet again. If Joel was a dog breed, he'd be a Rottweiler, a German Shepherd, Doberman, Bull Mastiff, and so on. It's so persistent and accurate, displayed various times throughout the game within his character. It's a trait that is admirable, especially in the context of the state of the world, also foreshadows in context to the ending. I bring this up, it happens so much, subtle or non-subtle, throughout the entirety of the story, making Joel not only a great character, a accurately realistic one at that. The writing never deviates from this, making him feel authentic. Obtaining a note here amongst the wreckage of the boat is from a man named Ish. This whole backstory is followed throughout the sewers we are coming up on. Ish was out at sea when the cordyceps outbreak initially happened. Running low on supplies, he was forced to come back ashore, taking residence in the sewer tunnels. A fascinating story, probably some of the best notes in this entire game as you follow the breadcrumbs, piecing together Ish's exploits upon coming back inland. Henry calling out he's found a way through brings us to the mentioned sewer tunnels.
All right, come on, kids, go. All right, you go in. Okay.
Hey, flashlights out. Sam, stay close. Someone's finally learning.
Why they chose to venture into some dark sewer tunnels is beyond me, just being honest. Regardless, chugging on through these tunnels come across a puzzle. I failed to mention this, the puzzles are actually pretty fun. You have to figure out various ways to traverse past them, in this case, moving a jammed door, letting Henry crank it open. Finding some clickers in a dormant state, slow and steady prevails. You drop a wooden plank into the water and use it to float Ellie across to the other side. The puzzles in this game are pretty creative overall, especially for 2013. Although not especially difficult, most entail using a ladder, water plank, generator, or boosting up Ellie to access something, or a mix of or all of those mechanics. Yet it does deviate from this from time to time, leaving more to the imagination when it does. The puzzles never being too difficult brews any frustration from not knowing what to do or where to go next sometimes can occur with any player of all skill levels. On to the other side of the water, momentum set forward, plunging further into the damp mildew tunnels. Grab another tools upgrade. Opening a shut door proceeds to set off a sound trap of falling bottles to forewarn any residents. Joel comments someone used to live here but seems long deserted now. On a desk, grab a new firearm, the shorty. A sawed-off shotgun comes in handy. On the walls, silverfish crawl around, skittering away upon approaching would-be predators. I actually used to think these were cockroaches, have been able to discern they are most likely silverfish. The tunnels used to have an entire community living here. It's such an interesting place to explore. You find out that this is in fact Ish's settlement, Ish from the boat note, and by the looks of it, he had a good thing going here for quite some time. Fully equipped with a rain collector, also purifies water for a sustainable water source. All over the place you see dead giveaways to a past civilization here in the tunnels. A sign stating the house rules. It's so trippy reading, especially the no shouting or loud play. Again showing this rugged world stripping away the normalcy of childhood. This also indicates there were kids here at one time. It's a full-blown settlement, the grim possibilities of what might have happened to these people always on the forefront of your mind. Was it hunters? Infected? We run into some infected, so a plausible conclusion perhaps. It's not conclusive. Infected could have possibly come later after people deserted or unfortunately a worse fate. Dealing with some runners among a lone clicker, I vividly had a flashback of my first ever playthrough back in 2013. My first instinct was we were going to fight some new form of infected. It just felt like that to me in the sense of leading up to something big. Although that never happens, you discover saddest reality in Ish's encampment. Upon entering a room, you see a chalkboard tattooed with a kid's drawing, among other various items linked to youth, like toys and such. On a body, you can pick up the cornered note, which reads, "We're trapped. I think everyone else is dead. Some of the little ones are with me. I got infected pounding at the door. I don't know how long we'll hold out. If Ish and the others are alive, maybe they'll reach us. They have to reach us. If it comes down to it, I'll make it quick." Right next to the corpse is a sheet layered over, yep, you guessed it. It's a sickening, shocking scene, crazily explored by a game studio which made Crash Bandicoot, Jak and Dexter, and the such. Not knocking those games at all, most developers stay away from this kind of stuff for obvious reasons. It's a scene that I vividly remember inducing rage in me. Rage followed by despair. Yet it's well done. Henry and Sam being here makes you reflect more on youth even your own youth, bringing you back to your days of being around Ellie and Sam's age, having to deal with or cope with this world. You not only relate to Henry through controlling Joel, but you're in an identical situation. You're a protective, full-grown man protecting a kid for different reasons or different circumstances, yet it stays the same. It creates the same mentality, which makes you care more about Henry and Sam, and in doing so, this makes you care about Joel and Ellie even more. The Last of Us does a good job at highlighting youth. It's such an integral part of the story for Ellie's character. As I stated before, her being so mature at times makes you forget really how young she is in a way. Her interactions with Sam, them just being kids, breaks this mold, reminding you without it feeling over the top or on the nose. It does this through the world environment itself, a hallmark of a good game. Show and tell, both are excellent tools for video game mediums, and taking advantage of both creates more immersion for the player, while also keeping the player more invested in what's happening around them.
Yeah, I'm cool. That was me. I must have triggered some kind of safety gate or something. Henry, see if we can lift this.
So, this is awkward.
Yeah, I know. It's like every time.
Clickers!
What?
Hey, this thing isn't budging, man.
Just go. Get out of here.
Sam, you stay close to him.
Henry, we gotta fucking move!
You keep him safe. Go!
You're gonna be fine.
With the group split up, we now have to protect Sam. This is the second area with stalkers, lots of stalkers. This section is extremely difficult to stealth as the stalkers patrol around. Stalkers, like runners, still possess the gift of vision, so stealth becomes much more difficult around them. You can easily hardlock yourself here in grounded mode if you reach this section with limited ammunition. Even stealth, you need at least 1 to 2 arrows from your bow or a shiv to dispatch of the patrolling clickers, with the shiv route being extremely hard. I've only been able to successfully stealth this section one time ever. The stalkers have their eyes set upon large broad areas with ever-changing line of sights, making it painful to stealth past. I always choose to brute force this section, utilizing corners and dead endings, letting the threats come to me instead of stealth. We reunite with the group past this section with massive hordes of infected on our heels. Running for our lives, we come to an exit, having to boost Ellie and Sam through an opening above, then waiting for them to get the door open on the other side. During this, Joel alongside Henry have to deal with incoming infected threats before they successfully get the door open. It's a last hurrah of the sewer section, being pretty tough on grounded. Finding ourselves traversing into a suburban neighborhood highlights some more of the past. It's actually interesting because as more and more time passes, people who were alive during past society are probably pretty rare 20 years in. This neighborhood analyzes the past more, bringing up that Henry was very young during the initial outbreak, remembering that he used to live with his family in a neighborhood similar to this one, and that his family would throw extravagant barbecues, remembering the smell more than anything. Henry reminiscing strongly on the smell makes sense as olfaction has been cited to be one of, if not the strongest form of memories. It also shows houses with warnings for looters that they are armed, prepared to take action against any threats. Down some ways we see 2 naughty dogs playing in the distance. Bringing up the logic for me personally, how did the cordyceps affect local wildlife species? Sure, these are feral, once domesticated dog breeds, but I bet wild animals such as deer, mountain lions, or bears probably benefit greatly from reduced human expansion.
This is an ice cream truck.
An ice cream truck?
Yeah, Henry told me about these. They sell ice cream out of the truck.
What? No way. Joel?
That's true. This thing will drive around and play real loud, creepy music, and kids would come running out to buy ice cream.
You're totally fucking with me.
Serious.
Man, you lived in a strange time.
Told you so.
Another neighborhood down a ledge, the piece is broken, running into some more of our hunter buddies from Pittsburgh, this time with a sniper in an adjacent building raining down lead upon us. Joel immediately splits from Henry, Sam, and Ellie, opting to flank the sniper, taking some of the heat off the group. Smart, as it diverts into two areas of attention for the sniper as well. Joel immediately doing this is just so badass. The guts you need to go alone to force forward ahead against a high calibered sniper takes balls of steel. You also have to deal with more hunter patrols that seek you out, plus being wary of the sniper's line of sight. I always utilize the left side as I find it more advantageous than the right side of the map. In this sniping section, you have to defend the group. If you fail to do so, you can in fact get them killed, causing a fail state. It's a fun section, letting you use the sniper to rain down lead onto some hunters. Sometime in, the dreaded run Humvee shows up again. It's a bit of video game logic in a way for them to put this much effort into tracking us down, but given we took out how many of their men, combined with the fact that they know this area well, being knowledgeable of certain choke points out of the city entirely, actually makes it pretty credible. You have to deal with the Humvee by waiting for a hunter to peekaboo his head out, exploding a Molotov in his hand to the demise of the Humvee.
Shit. Oh, that was intense.
You all right, Sam?
Yeah, I'm okay.
Thanks, Joel.
Look at this.
All right, we did it.
We should move.
All right.
Sam!
Henry!
Damn it.
Sam, are you okay?
Yeah, I'm fine.
You sure?
I said I'm fine.
Well, it's safe to say those two have officially bonded. What are you doing?
Taking stock of all the food we found today.
I see. And how are we doing on canned peaches?
Did Henry send you?
No. Why would Henry send me?
To make sure I'm not fucking up somehow.
I'd say we all did pretty good back there. Especially you. Is everything all right?
Yeah, everything's fine.
Okay. Well, have a good night.
How is it that you're never scared?
Who says that I'm not?
What are you scared of?
Let's see. Scorpions are pretty creepy. Being by myself. I'm scared of ending up alone. What about you?
Those things out there. What if the people are still inside? What if they're trapped in there without any control of their body? Scared of that happening to me.
Okay. First of all, we're a team now. Okay, we're gonna help each other out. And second, they might still look like people, but that person is not in there anymore.
Henry says that they've moved on. That they're with their families, like in heaven. Do you think that's true?
I go back and forth. I mean, I'd like to believe it.
But you don't.
I guess not.
Me neither.
Oh. All the serious talk. I almost forgot. There. If he doesn't know about it, he can't take it away. All right. I'm pooped. I'll see you tomorrow.
Upon discovering Sam was bitten in that last scuffle with the infected, being predictable, the execution here is pretty flawless. Like everything related to the story or cutscenes, you can't save Sam. Or Henry for that matter. It's obvious also to put two and two together, in no way was Henry or Sam going to be with us for the entirety of the game. It also feels these two great characters are cut short in Last of Us fashion. It's honestly heartbreaking what Henry does. He couldn't cope without Sam. Sam was his life, his purpose. Overwhelmed in the moment, being without him, unable to protect him, he did the unthinkable. It's also very subtle, but genius when Henry says, "Henry, what have you done?" Parallels to,
"It's all your fault, Henry."
When Henry is stating this, it seems as if he's blaming Joel, but he is in fact talking about himself. To the very end, he blames Sam's death on himself. Unable to cope, he couldn't protect him. It's honestly so depressing the way this chapter ends. Even if you predict Sam being bitten, which I in fact did on my first playthrough, it doesn't take anything away from how hard it hits the player.
Henry, no.
Fast track via fading black screen, we end up in Jackson, Wyoming, on the outskirts of a dam. It's beautiful here in Wyoming as you view upon pristine picture-perfect mountain views all around, flock of birds doing bird stuff in the distance. Down some ways from where we started, we happen upon a ruined vehicle. You can grab El Diablo, a scope magnum revolver. It doesn't get much more metal than that. It's a nice addition to your arsenal, packing a punch in times of need. Taking in the sights all around, make off the trail down a ravine. Ellie asks Joel what happened between you two, you and Tommy, beckoning for an answer. Joel responds Tommy joined up with the Fireflies, eventually grew tired of that crusade before heading off on his own. It's interesting hearing this, he states Marlene promised him hope. Backtracking on the Fireflies yet again. Since starting this analysis, I've put more thought about the Fireflies in general than I ever did on previous playthroughs. Marlene obviously being a charismatic leader, installing a better purpose among her comrades, commanding respect, or she probably wouldn't be the leader of the Fireflies, I suppose. Happening upon the electric dam, old Joel drops some wisdom on the young grasshopper.
Whoa, what's that?
Right there's a hydroelectric power plant. It uses the river's movement and turns it into electricity.
How does it do that?
Look, I know what it is. I don't know how it does it.
All right. How are we getting across?
Completing a puzzle, freeing a wood pallet from a sunken structure, Ellie mockingly says, I know, step on the fucking pallet, throwing a jab at how many times previously you've done this, just a fun little detail. Ellie proceeds to turning a, I believe, damn trash rack before we have to do our share to complete a bridge across. You also find a small grave, making you reflect on Sam. Oh sweet little Sam. Ellie also states she still has the toy robot from the toy store she grabbed back in Pittsburgh. Joel barks at her not to bring it up, not desiring to reflect on it, choosing to ignore or block out the pain. Typical Joel.
Teamwork.
Don't even think about reaching for your weapon. Tell the girl to drop hers now.
Ellie, do as the lady says.
Hey.
Please tell me you're lost.
Oh, we didn't know the place was occupied. We're just trying to make our way through.
Through to where?
They're all right.
But you know these people?
Know him. He's my goddamn brother.
Tommy.
Holy shit.
How you doing, baby brother?
Goddamn.
Yeah.
Let me look at you. You get fucking old.
Easy. It's gonna happen to you, too.
This is Maria. Be nice to her. She sort of runs things around here.
Ma'am, thanks for not blowing my head off.
Would have been embarrassing, considering you're my brother-in-law.
We all gotta get wrangled up at some point.
Ellie, right?
Yeah.
What brings you through here?
That's kind of a long story.
Why don't we bring him inside?
Yeah. You hungry?
Starving.
False alarm! They're friendlies. We've been
Reuniting with our little bro Tommy, chiming some mellow music hits the spot for a touchy, heartfelt moment. Since the beginning of the game, most players' first question, where is Tommy? Soon finding out he in fact joined the Fireflies at some point before leaving the militia, set upon his own path. It's awesome touching bases with Tommy again. It genuinely feels like a long lost reunion. Without this quest alongside Ellie, moving across an apocalyptic, beautiful yet dangerous America, who's to say if Joel and Tommy would have ever seen each other again? Tommy is also married at this point to Maria, just another cool thing Joel probably would have missed. It's easy to relate to falling out, even with family. Things change, people change. The tides of time is ever pushing forward, pushing everyone in different directions, being the natural state of life. Tommy's settlement is pretty advanced, instantly informing us they're working on getting the power plant's turbines back on, stating that they had it powered on at one point before, providing Jackson with electricity. They also have horses. Ellie of course loves, saying she learned how to ride from a man named Winston back in the Boston QZ.
Maria.
Yeah, go ahead.
We're in the control room. Steve's about to start it back up. You want to come check it out?
I'd rather eat with Ellie.
It's my turn anyway. I'll go.
I'll come with you. Go with Maria. Get some food in.
Joel. Come on, Ellie. Let's give the boys some space. I'm sending Tommy over. Stand by.
This will be the 6th time of them trying to get the turbines back online. We've been here just a week, and it feels like forever. I got something for you. Last year I went back to Texas, back home. Most of our stuff is long gone. Most of it. Here. It's a little faded, but it still looks pretty good.
I'm good.
You sure? I mean...
I've said I'm good.
Okay. Well, I'll hold on to it for you.
Tommy, I need to talk to you. Privately.
Yeah, okay. Let me just check on my guys real quick. Come on.
Ellie being extremely reluctant to part with Joel in this cutscene shows how close she is to him at this point in the game. Joel refusing to take the picture of Sarah from Tommy pretty much aligns with his character. You can tell how angry Joel gets about this. The world in utter chaos during the initial outbreak, proceeding to Sarah's death would cause anyone to not be able to properly grieve. Something tells me, even in a civilized society, Joel would choose rather push problems, self-failures, or pain onto the back burner. It's also a touching moment highlighting Joel's character. It says a lot about Tommy's. Going separate ways after a fallout, sometime in after surviving together for an undisclosed duration, Tommy still thinks about his older brother. It shows that despite problems, family is family, always wanting or wishing the best for your loved ones, despite their shortcomings or weaknesses. It shows a bond between these two. Tommy risking his life for a photograph for Joel, then him to not even consider taking it out of courtesy even, shows a lot about how guarded or blocked off Joel is to losing Sarah 20 plus years later. This whole section with this simple part bringing Sarah back into the forefront makes Joel's slow gradual opening up to Ellie even more believable. Joel is a superbly written character. It makes sense being the main character in the game. I just love Joel Miller. He's such a intriguing, badass, deep character, voice acted so well by Troy Baker, an iconic character. Tommy and Joel banter back and forth, chit-chatting about small talk, Joel dropping hints of his reasoning behind making a massive trek along with Ellie, coming upon such a good boy, Buckley. Not so great of a guard dog, a good boy nonetheless. Buckley was actually named after Troy Baker's dog who passed away being immortalized in The Last of Us. A cool homage. Buckley also appears in the beginning of The Last of Us Part 2, where you can pet him in Jackson. Just a cool detail. I always love when game developers throw in these neat things that mean something to someone in real life, such as NPCs named after their fans and so on. Working on getting the power plant back up and running, Tommy rehashes the plans with his men, telling us they had power up before, living the ways of old. Also suffering from heavy bandit attacks prone to the area. People with malicious desire to take what they don't have. A problem as old as humanity itself. Tommy genuinely seems like a great dude, having nothing but admiration, respect for his crew, wanting to genuinely create a better life for everyone around him, forging a relatively humble, peaceful spot for himself in this hectic universe. Getting the power turbines back up is a triumphant feat for Tommy's crew. With us, the player, being able to witness it, Tommy states they have been here for some time failing to do so. Scooting along, you find someplace privy to chat about the current predicament Joel is in, away from prying ears of his men.
It's quite the crew you got here.
Yeah, they're good men. This place gives them a second chance. Gives us all a second chance. So why'd you leave Boston?
I've been on quite the adventure, little brother.
I reckon it's got something to do with that girl.
It's got everything to do with that little girl.
Well, go on then.
She's immune.
Immune to what?
Come on. I know, I've seen her breathe enough spores to take down a dozen men. And nothing. Now, I wouldn't have believed it neither. But I can show you.
All right. I'll bite. Why bring her here?
I was supposed to deliver to the Fireflies. The way I figure they're your boys. You finish the job, you collect the whole damn payment.
I haven't seen a Firefly in years.
You know where they are. Now, I'm not asking for much, Tommy. I just want some simple gear, enough to set me on my way.
What makes you think I'd do this for you?
This isn't for me, Tommy. This is for your damn cause.
My cause is my family now. You ain't talking about some walk in the park here.
Jesus, boy. Have Maria get some of your born-again friends to do it.
They got families, too.
Tommy, I need this.
You want some gear? Sure. But I ain't taking that girl off your hands.
This is how you gonna repay me, huh?
Repay you?
For all those goddamn years I took care of us.
Took care? That's what you call it? I got nothing but nightmares from those years.
You survived because of me.
It wasn't worth it.
I bring you the cure from mankind, and you want to play the pissy little brother.
We ain't back in Boston. You lay your hands on me again, it won't end well for you.
The hell is that?
We're under attack. You still remember how to kill, right?
Yeah.
This cutscene is beyond intriguing. It sheds to light again of Joel's past after Sarah's death. Tommy stating it wasn't worth it, showing a grim side to Joel. This was brought up early as the beginning of Pittsburgh after encountering the hunters' victimized loot spot beyond opening the garage. Joel says to Ellie he's been on both sides, meaning he's been a victim and a victimizer. reigniting the identical question I pondered back in Pittsburgh. How far did Joel go in this direction? I got nothing but nightmares from those years. Answers this question, albeit vaguely, but does answer it. Joel went off the tracks, doing anything to survive, even giving completely to dehumanization of the cycle that is survivalism. Maybe Joel went about this in the right way, as we, as the player, can only speculate how everything really went down upon Sarah's death. I imagine the world state outside of certain Fedra military zones crazy dangerous, highlighted from the case of the suburbs neighborhood, of people having to deal with looters, bandit tribalism starting to take effect against a collapsed overarching government, unable to mediate or protect anyone. Protection was up to you entirely, a concept pretty much foreign to the majority of people in today's age. A DLC with Joel and Tommy showing sides of this story during the initial outbreak after Sarah's death, always something I desperately wanted. Maybe it's better an untold story perhaps, leaving more to the imagination. A massive group of bandits coordinated quite well attack the base and Tommy's crew. It's a nutty section where you end up backtracking ways you just came from, seeing workers you previously saw sleeping or the such slaughtered. In the attack is the grim reality of this world. You're never quite safe anywhere. You got to deal with them as you make your way back to Marlene and Ellie, dispatching any bandits crossing your path along the way.
You okay?
Yeah, I'm fine.
Joel! Oh man, they were coming in from every direction, then Maria was like, we gotta run, and so we dove over these tables, and this huge guy blasted with a shotgun.
Slow down. Listen, hey, are you hurt?
No.
God damn it. I need to talk to you.
Absolutely not. You tell him to go find somebody else.
Maria, I can't have this hanging over my head.
Do you have any idea how many men we lost here today?
Hey, what's that all about? Does that have anything to do with me?
We'll talk about it later.
Did he tell you where the lab is?
We'll talk about it later.
Later. Right.
It takes one fuck up. One fuck up, and then I turn into one of those widows, okay?
I have to do this. I don't know what else to say.
Fine.
Maria.
Here we go.
You. If anything at all happens to him, it's on you.
She's thankful, you know.
Yeah, I know.
I'll take that girl of yours to the Fireflies. You don't have to worry about it.
It's best this way.
Well, maybe some real good will come of this.
I need to talk to Ellie.
Say again, I didn't hear you. Joel!
What is it?
That girl of yours. She took one of our horses and rode off.
Damn it, which one?
Ellie running away is completely relatable to anyone who's been her age can understand in the least. The petulant, angsty teen rage of no one understands me, yet with the crazy high stakes. Being actually pretty bonkers for Ellie to take a horse riding off into bandit-infested territory as a young girl. Ellie, upon the realization Joel was going to part ways with her, in many respects, this is sort of a climax between Joel and Ellie's relationship. Joel has opened up over time, yet still somewhere on the forefront is the shelled off Joel from the beginning of the game. I also believe besides Ellie being a motivation, the drive to perhaps do something with his life in a time with little opportunity. Therefore, to provide a route for a cure, delivering Ellie to the Fireflies, motivation for Joel. Joel at this point nonetheless clearly cares about Ellie, hasn't completely opened up prospects of letting her in, so to speak. Bonds during traumatic experiences unavoidable. The bond between these two inevitably happens slowly over time as the story progresses. Despite this, in some ways, I believe Ellie is still cargo to Joel. It's actually a way, even depending on how you look at it, shows some form of selfishness from Joel. He's half in yet half out at the same time. Frankly, getting something out of a relationship he lost by losing Sarah through Ellie, but keeping his guard up simultaneously. It's hard to put in words, it's a very ambiguous game, yet I always felt like this was the case at this point in the story. You can't blame Joel in this rough world in the slightest, yet he stays right, remaining true by both Tess's wish and Ellie's desire to make some form of greater meaning from her life, with the occurrence of her immunity playing a bigger role to mean something in the bigger picture. In many respects, I always felt like Joel at this point was in some form of crossroads within himself. He wasn't reluctant to the idea of passing Ellie off to Tommy in the slightest, coming off as a way out, a coping mechanism. Joel recognizes he's a bit over his head at this point, in turmoil within himself, fully identify at this stage what Ellie really means to him. Conflicting within him causes strife, taxing hard on Joel's psyche, never needing to fully explain this. It's confusing for Joel internally. The game never replaces Sarah either. It does a good job giving a reason why, without it feeling forced or shoehorned. So many plot lines that try to do this in other mediums try to emulate or replicate exact relationships down to a T. I personally never viewed Ellie in this light. It's similar yet different. Ellie isn't Sarah or vice versa. It never feels cheap or forced. You see along the way what these characters really mean to each other. Show, don't tell. On then off horseback, you have to pursue a angsty Ellie, coming across some random bandits along your way. This is also the only chapter that you never come across an infected the entire time. Up some ways, Tommy alongside you come to a gorgeous, pristine for this world ranch house with a horse outside, giving the dead giveaway upon who's inside.
Is this really all they had to worry about? Boys, movies, deciding which shirt goes with which skirt. It's bizarre.
Get up. We're leaving. Come on.
And if I say no?
Do you even realize what your life means? Huh? Running off like that, putting yourself at risk? It's pretty goddamn stupid.
Well, I guess we're both disappointed with each other then.
What do you want from me?
Admit that you wanted to get rid of me the whole time.
Tommy knows this area
Oh,
better
fuck
than...
that.
Well, I'm sorry. I trust him better than I trust myself.
Stop with the bullshit. What are you so afraid of? That I'm gonna end up like Sam? I can't get infected. I can take care of myself.
How many close calls have we had?
Well, we seem to be doing all right so far.
And now you'll be doing even better with Tommy.
I'm not her, you know.
What?
Maria told me about Sarah.
Ellie?
And...
You are treading on some mighty thin ice here.
I'm sorry about your daughter, Joel, but I have lost people too.
You have no idea what loss is.
Everyone I have cared for has either died or left me. Everyone fucking except for you. So don't tell me that I would be safer with someone else, because the truth is I would just be more scared.
You're right. You're not my daughter. And I sure as hell ain't your dad. And we are going our separate ways.
Get it together. We're not alone.
I got two walking in.
There's more inside already.
Ellie bringing up Sarah is an adequate way to make this scene powerful. You feel tense, like you're in on a conversation that should be private, left betwixt these two characters. You're on edge. Maria disclosed this information to Ellie, demonstrating Maria knows all about Joel's past, meaning of course she ascertained everything from her husband, Tommy. Displaying anew, Tommy really does care for Joel. He knows how hard losing Sarah was on him. I mentioned before from the perspective of Joel being selfish. This is further hammered upon here, when Joel gravely remarks, "You have no idea what loss is." It shows that Joel is unable to acknowledge the loss of many others around him. He doesn't analyze anyone else's pain, a very human thing to do. We tend to view the world through our own bubble, our own outlook. It's just nature, as your consciousness is your reality, how you perceive what's around your environment. Yet this characteristic is shown here quite bluntly of Joel's. He never let go in any sense sense or moved on fully. Well, no one would upon losing their child, of course. It just shows time doesn't always heal all wounds, especially when time is full of strife, violence, chaos. Ellie even remarking, "I'm not her, you know," full circles what I said. Ellie never replaces Sarah. It never felt this way to me, even subtracting this statement. Like all moments in this world, it's cut short, swiftly interrupted via incoming bandits, showing again self-reflection is a luxury within survivalism. Action takes the forefront of nature versus nurture. Nature always crowned the victor when death's door is constantly knocking.
We're clear.
You want a hand up?
I got it.
There she is. Kids will be watching movies tonight.
Where is this lab of theirs?
It's all the way out, University of Eastern Colorado.
Go Bighorns. Ellie, get off your horse. Give it on back to Tommy. I'm gonna hang on to this fella, if that's all right with you. Go on, don't make me repeat myself.
What are you doing?
Your wife kind of scares me. I don't want her coming after me.
Sorry for stealing your horse.
Look, come back to town. Let's discuss it at least.
You know me, my mind's all made up. University, Eastern Colorado. How do I find this lab?
It's in the science building. Looks like a giant mirror. You can't miss it.
Take care of that wife of yours.
There's a place for you here, you know?
You good?
I'm good.
Adios, little brother.
Fading into horseback perched upon Callus, our furry horsey friend starts a new chapter, the university. Specifically, this is the Eastern Colorado University of Boulder, Colorado. Our sight's set upon reaching the giant mirror building Tommy spoke about, being the science building of the college. You can ride through on Callus, your newfound hay-loving friend. This whole section is pretty uneventful. To be honest, it's deserted here. No signs of anything, non-infected or infected alike. Ellie and Joel banter between each other about the school's football team, the Bighorns. Go Bighorns. Ellie also fails to comprehend the meaning behind the concepts of prior civilization. Similar to the ice cream truck, the logic of sports teams being basically idolized or worshipped is unfathomable or alien to Ellie. Further into our search for residual fireflies among a lab here in Boulder, you stumble into a new weapon, the flamethrower. Putting to action our new tool to practical use on some runners, followed by using the shorty for some more spread. We power on a generator, heading through an electric gate, running into some unlikely for the region of Colorado furry primate friends. Lots of furries in this chapter, for sure.
Aw, are those monkeys?
Yeah, a whole mess of them.
That was kind of awesome.
First time seeing a monkey?
First time seeing a monkey.
Down some ways you can view Firefly graffiti similar to back in the QZ, among other locations throughout the entirety of the game. I remember my first time playing this segment, I thought we would at the least find some Fireflies, yet run into some problems, such as lack of resources or loss of life amongst the Fireflies, creating more obstacles funnel some objectives to the player. You're forced to pass through a hole in a building to a subset of infected creepies just chilling down there. These infected have been gone for some time, consisting entirely of clickers, with a lone bloater just taking a rest. The college also has some cool notes, the long past history during the initial outbreak from students, and more relatively, recent survivors noting certain things about life here in Colorado. You also pass a long time vacant Fedra medical base with tents still standing. Joel opens up a bit more to Ellie here, stating he was married at one point, desired to be a singer when he was younger, and had Sarah at a very young age, so on. It's cool seeing Joel open up to Ellie at this point, letting Ellie in as basically his adoptive daughter of sorts. He's more open in this chapter, being less gruff, more fluff Joel. Into the science building, still very much abandoned at this point, it doesn't look so great in finding a team of scientist Fireflies here. Joel and Ellie are alerted to some form of commotion upstairs. Upon checking it out, you come to a door.
Jesus.
Yeah, no shit.
I'm dead. Or I will be soon. Got me some time to reflect. Been years that felt like we were... Fucking thing was a giant waste of time. I'm not gonna do this anymore.
Come on.
Looking for the others. They've all returned to St. Mary's Hospital in Salt Lake City. You'll find them there. Still trying to save the world. Good luck with that.
Do you know where that is?
I know the city.
Is it far?
It ain't close. I mean, on horseback.
What? The Fireflies?
Get down!
Oh!
Firefly's abandoning post here some time ago packed up moving out to Salt Lake City, Utah. A recorder also demonstrates the monkeys were being used as lab monkeys, experimenting the effects of the cordyceps infection on primates in an attempt to use similar test subjects DNA-wise to discover a cure. In 28 days later fashion, one of the scientists stupidly attempted freeing the infected monkeys, in turn being bitten, then infected. Ambushed by some random patrolling men, in large numbers fighting your way out of the science building, they come in droves upon droves. Reaching a shut door, you're bombarded by a bandit, leading to...
You asshole!
Oh man. Joel? Oh.
I'm gonna need you to pull.
Okay. Alright, you ready? 1, 2, 3!
Let's get to the damn horse.
Okay.
Impaled Vlad Dracula style, Joel gets skewered in grisly kebab fashion. I always wondered how Joel didn't die here. It's possible, sure, it seems as if it more likely than not would have ruptured something. Regardless, incapacitated from excruciating pain, Joel is a tough son of a gun, enduring through blood loss and sheer agony. This is pretty much the whole reasoning behind the university section. It's what makes it unique. The blurred vision all while Joel is stumbling, hobbling around, dying is pretty tough to watch. It immediately flips from Joel the Guardian to completely relying on Ellie for Joel's safety. This harkens back to some of my analysis of Bill's character. If Joel was alone in this part, he'd be finished, no ifs or buts about it. A perfect example, thriving in numbers, relying on other people for your safety. Ellie comes in clutch, fending off incoming threats, all while Joel and Ellie joke about Joel singing for her if she manages to get him out of this alive. Them still finding time to joke around in such a dire circumstance is heartwarming. Finally slugging our way through an exit out of the science building, we're reunited with our horsey friend Callus, wasting no time in hopping on and getting out of there.
Can you get on? I think we're safe. Joel? Joel? Shit. Joel, here. Oh, get up, get up, get up. You gotta tell me what to do. Come on. You gotta get up. Joel? This won't last very long. You'll just startle it.
Beginning the winter chapter upon the unknown ahead bestowed of a first playthrough, the first question obviously, where's Joel? Is he safe? Alive? It forces you to ask this question. Ellie's attention is diverted from small game to large game harvests upon the glimpse of a large buck. Here you hunt the stag. It's a cool, unique playstyle of the game thus far. Landing arrows creates a blood trail from the animal. Twigs and sticks will snap upon, walking over them, alerting the unsuspecting deer, so we tread with caution with food on our mind. I always feel bad hunting down the ungulate, taking a couple shots before finally falling prey to Ellie, proceeding to track it down past a fence into a Warren Company coal mine. Approaching the deer's corpse,
Who's there? Come out!
Hello? We just want to talk.
Any sudden moves and I put one right between your eyes. Ditto for buddy boy over there. What do you want?
Name's David. This here's my friend James. We're from a larger group. Women, children. We're all very, very hungry.
So am I. Women and children, all very hungry too.
Well, maybe we could trade you for some of that meat there. What do you need? Weapons, ammo, clothes?
Medicine! Do you have any antibiotics?
We do. Back at the camp. You're welcome to follow us
I'm
back.
not following you anywhere. Buddy boy can go get it. He comes back with what I need. The deer is all yours. Anyone else shows up...
You put one right between my eyes.
That's right.
2 bottles of the penicillin in a syringe. Make it fast. Go on.
I'll take that rifle.
Of course.
Back up.
It's probably gonna be a while. You, Mind if we take some shelter from the cold?
Bring him with us.
You know, you really shouldn't be out here all on your own.
I don't like company.
I see. What's your name?
Why?
Look, I understand it's not easy to trust a couple of strangers. Whoever's hurt, you clearly care about them. Sure, it's gonna be just fine.
We'll see. You had another gun?
Sorry. Hey, I'd really like my rifle back now.
No, you have your pistol.
Hope you know how to use that thing.
I've had some practice.
It's interesting to note David is voice acted by Nolan North, most well known for voicing Nathan Drake from the Uncharted series, also developed by Naughty Dog. This brings up I've never played the Uncharted series games, any of them, pondering how different some of my viewpoints of The Last of Us might differ from gameplay standpoints than someone who played the Uncharted series beforehand. I always wanted to play the series, just never got around to it. David is very well voice acted. He has a creepy, sending shivers down your spine kind of voice. James, his partner, also mentioned something about the others, giving a hint this is some form of community out here in Silver Lake, Colorado. David seems on the surface caring, empathetic, trustful, but even on a first time playthrough, most players will remain skeptical as, like in many things in real life, the surface level is never very deep, rarely showing true intentions on the surface. Ellie's instant request in the trade for the deer meat for some antibiotics answers the question. Joel's alive, yet is in dire need to stave off infection from his wounds. Waiting for James to return with their end of the bargain, we're forced to flee the scene into a structure with infected. Hordes of infected set upon our location, looking for a meal themselves. It's revealed David had a sidearm weapon the entire time, never being completely disarmed, yet didn't use it on Ellie. This whole section on grounded mode as a whole, one of the toughest sections. You eventually come to a dead end where you're basically doing a COD Zombies mode in The Last of Us. Killing threats pop up through windows, the ceiling, and so on, even having to deal with a bloater at the end. It's interesting playing Ellie. All the character swaps in this game are done to great effect. Ellie has her switchblade, an immortal switchblade at that. It never breaks, unlike shivs or huge rebar bars you grab up around the environment while playing Joel. Ellie of course lacks the brute strength of Joel, making her realistically weaker in hand-to-hand combat, yet is masterful all the same with firearms and the bow. I guess depending on the player's third-person shooter aim, you get my point. Dying or facing obstacles while controlling Ellie imbues a sense of larger risk. You don't want to see Ellie be taken down. Switching to Ellie is a fantastic way to take some of the focus off of Joel, putting it back onto Ellie. Ellie has already established herself a badass, yet this chapter forces you to not only watch a 14-year-old kid do heinous stuff in the name of surviving, you have to experience it with her as well. Finishing the rest of the infected off with David, the cold blistering Colorado environment comes to a much welcome silence. Off you go with David to quote, "Check on that buck of ours."
Listen.
No infected.
No infected. What'd I tell you? All right. Let's head on back. Check on that buck of ours. Well, you handled yourself pretty nice back there. Whew. I'd say we make a pretty good team.
We got lucky.
Lucky? No. No such thing as luck. Now, you see, I believe that everything happens for a reason.
Sure.
I do. And I can prove it to you. Now, this winter, that's been especially cruel. A few weeks back, I sent a group of men out to a nearby town to look for food. Only a few came back. They said that the others had been slaughtered by a crazy man. And get this, he's a crazy man traveling with a little girl. You see, everything happens for a reason. Don't get upset. It's not your fault. I'm just a kid. James, lower the gun.
No way, David. I'm not gonna let her go.
Lower the gun. Now give her the medicine.
The others won't be happy about this.
Yeah, well, that's not your concern.
Move the fuck out of the way.
You won't survive long out there. I can protect you.
No, thanks.
Tracking Ellie down was a perfect storm of events, or perfect lack of a snowstorm, more accurately. Panic Ellie failed to realize snow leaves tracks, especially when the elements don't cover those tracks back up. Simple mistakes can be life or death in this game. You see Joel confirming he is still alive, barely but surviving nonetheless. Ellie sneaks out in an attempt to lure David's men away from the immediate area. It's unclear if she planned to lead them away using her tracks in a stealthy fashion or was going to cast some diversion, force a chase. The speculation is largely unimportant. Ellie is spotted by one of the patrolling men blowing her cover. They open fire after arguing amongst themselves, one of them saying, "But David said," meaning David wants Ellie alive. I recall my first instinct, it's crystal clear motivation wise why an older man would want a young girl. Yet this early of dealing with David and his men, the game perhaps does try to paint David in a caring, empathetic way, just seeking revenge for his men against Joel. As he did state, he still views Ellie as just a kid. Cover completely blown, you ride off on horseback, just a 14-year-old girl alongside your horsey friend. David's men attempting to derail you at any chance they get, grabbing onto Callus, desperately trying to free Ellie from her companion. It's a tense sequence with David's men seemingly coming in from everywhere, fully ascending onto this small neighborhood, with the desires of David and revenge for their men being the main objective. Yet another sad moment in this game then happens, losing our trusty steed, Callus.
Oh man. No.
Right there. Ending up on the shore of a lake, which is the lakeside resort, David's men in full pursuit proceed to scan the surrounding areas, leaving you in a tough gameplay section. Human sections in this game are generally speaking more difficult versus dealing with the infected. Humans of course being more attentive with greater perception of their surroundings, especially in a dangerous world, causes the player to be more on their toes. Humans have less weak spots, especially from the stealth side of gameplay, being less vulnerable to exploitation than the undead Goombas. It's tough getting through the resort. I always use the bathrooms, hopping in and out from the women's side to the men's side, hiding in the stalls, putting every line of sight or cover to any possible advantage. Further up in this section, you come to a cabin, having to deal with even more of David's men. Before attempting to pass through some double doors, Ellie gets submission via sleeper hold by creepy David himself.
Keeping you alive here. There you go. There you go. How are you feeling?
Super.
Here. You should eat. I know you're hungry. You've been out for quite some time.
What is it?
It's deer.
With some human helping on the side?
No. No, I promise. It's just the deer meat.
You're a fucking animal.
It's awfully quick to judgment. Considering you and your friend killed how many men?
They didn't give us a choice.
And you think we have a choice? Is that it? You kill to survive. And so do we. We have to take care of our own, by any means necessary.
So now what? You gonna chop me up into tiny pieces?
I'd rather not. Please tell me your name.
You're so full of shit.
On the contrary, I've been quite honest with you. Now I think it's your turn. It's the only way I'm going to be able to convince the others.
Convince them of what?
That you can come around. You have heart. You're loyal. And you're special.
Oh.
You stupid little girl. You are making it very difficult to keep you alive. What am I supposed to tell the others now?
Ellie.
What?
Tell them that Ellie is the little girl that broke your fucking finger!
How did you put it? Hmm? Tiny pieces. See you in the morning, Ellie. Ellie.
Ellie?
Good old Joel, shot up with some rejuvenation from the penicillin, spurs him back onto his feet, immediately putting the player into the headspace, save Ellie. David's men still in the area, they open fire on you, causing you to return the favor. It's also comical how cowardly his men are portrayed here, single-handedly giving up against one man. Well, it is badass Joel Miller, but still. Coming into an opening, you get a QTE cutscene into the cutscene that cemented Joel as one of my favorite video game characters of all time.
Shit!
Handcuff me.
Let me go. I'll fuck you up.
What the? You wait here. Now, the girl. Is she alive?
What girl? I don't know no girl. Fuck!
Focus right here, right here. I'll pop your goddamn knee off. The girl. She's alive. She's David's newest pet.
Where?
In the town. In the town.
Now you're gonna mark it on the map. And it better be the same exact spot your buddy points to. Mark it.
It's right there. You can verify it. Go ask him. Go on. I tell you, I ain't lying. I ain't.
Fuck you, man. He told you what you wanted. I ain't telling you shit.
That's all right. I believe him.
No, wait!
Wakey, wakey. Come on.
Let's go! Stop!
I warned you.
I'm infected! I'm infected!
Really?
So are you. Right there. Roll up my sleeve. Look at it!
I'll play along.
What'd you say? Everything happens for a reason, right?
What the hell is that? She would have turned by now. It can't be real.
Looks pretty fucking real to me.
Ellie cleverly used her infection status with her visible bite mark to her advantage in a last clutch effort. Ellie is smart here, been shown many times. No one in this world has ever been documented being immune to the cordyceps, it being completely unbelievable, like seeing a unicorn or something. This shock in the moment effect was just enough time to act upon in a split second for her to have some luck on her side, getting free from David. Through a blizzard blistering, you have to make through David's town, dealing with threats along the way however you see fit. The winter chapter in general is short, dense in substance. It thematically uses swapping between Joel and Ellie efficiently, each character swap setting the pace very well. As Joel, the player is motivated in finding Ellie. As Ellie, you're motivated just to get the hell out of there, away from David. David, in my opinion, is supposed to encompass pure evil, which on the surface he does, yet the more you look at it analytically, even he comes off as gray for the context. I said somewhere in this video, I tend to dislike good or bad morality categorizing in this game. It is written intentionally gray. David is by no means, of course, a good guy. There is plenty of motivations for him being the way he is. David, like many others, struggle with the constant threat of infected, bandits, among other dangerous living people, disease, hunger, dehydration, the list goes on and on. David seems to be the leader of this civilization here in Colorado. Not much can be ascertained about this group, yet there is still various backstory you can uncover regarding them here in Silver Lake through various notes. This town is inhabited by even women and children, though never directly seen in-game. Of course, already touching on the fact women and children, especially children, are exceptionally rare outside of the Fedra zones. Like Henry stated about the hunters in Pittsburgh, it's survival of the fittest. This community dates all the way back to the beginning of the initial outbreak itself, first being a stronger through numbers community, most likely with nothing but pure intentions in the beginning to form a community for protection. Over time, resources dwindled, yet the population kept expanding, kids still being born, more mouths to feed, forced their hands, causing this group of people sometime along the way to start targeting people as prey, especially during the harsh winter. Even David says this winter was especially cruel. cruel, indicating hardship in recent times. David at some undisclosed time became the leader of this group of people, making James his right-hand man. You see pretty easily through vague comments, tensions among this community are running very high. David's leadership is insinuated to be in question of some sorts, as even James, his right-hand man, comments, "The others won't be happy about this," indicating clear unrest is plagued within this settlement as time passes. Food gets scarcer. David has resorted to mobilizing hunting parties set upon far-reaching towns, hence why we ran into their men with Joel and Ellie back at the university. The parties literally hunt, netting any resources along their way, including survivors to consume. Cliché as cannibalism tends to be in zombie mediums, it's interesting here because it obviously keeps the knowledge in mind that these aren't just solely cannibals. There aren't enough people around in the world to subside solely on human meat. Famine pushed them towards it, taking advantage of any edge that provided sustenance. It's interesting because this shows possibly where the hunters in Pittsburgh are headed towards in the future. Honestly, being shocked the hunters never resorted to cannibalism, as pirating survivors for your main source of income isn't sustainable in the long term, in the slightest. This cannibal society, oddly enough, is quite advanced despite what you may assume. It seems to be run similar to a democracy, meaning David may be the leader, doesn't have full-blown dictatorship-like reign. The town votes on matters through town meetings, including who the leader should be in the first place. At some point, David was voted in, showing that David has some form of value or charisma to other people, with people relying on him, seeing him as their best option for their future. Obviously a twisted, perverse community, as when Joel was torturing one of the members to get information to find Ellie, the man's remark of, "She's David's newest pet," indicates that David is a repeat offender and has most likely done heinous things to young girls previous times before. It seems, for a lack of better words, this is a devil's playground community driven by desperation. At the same time though, as I'm writing this, I also have come to the realization it's easy to judge these people without walking in their shoes. A harsh world, of course, shown a million times, being all about survivalism and so on. What I'm getting at is, when David says to Ellie, "And you think we have a choice, you kill to survive and so do we," pretty much hits this point to a T. I'm not saying anything excuses abhorrent behaviors such as cannibalism, but it's a pretty common phenomenon within real life history as a last resort during periods of famine. The mentality of judging someone desperately starving while standing atop green grass, a belly full of food, the biggest worries in your world being what show you're gonna watch after work tonight, pure hypocrisy. I always view David and his community as evil, yet the more you look at it, they're still pretty gray in many aspects. They still possess a terrible morality for the world, yet demonstrates in times of famine driven by desperation, morality tends to be blurred. Right or wrong lose the same meaning we define it today in a civilized society. It's easy to point your nose up at others in a less fortunate existence, perceiving less of them while touting superiority in your own narcissistic absolution without being in anything of a similar circumstance. It may sound like I'm trying to brush off David's and the town's predatory behavior to the excuse of it's just surviving, but I'm really not. This analysis made me realize how easily good and evil can be interchanged depending on the circumstances. I always found this aspect fascinating because if you think about it, morality is constantly ever changing. Different times in our history, the heroes of yesteryear could be evil or villains in present time. Figures once heralded, looked upon as beacons of light in today's modern laws, would be deemed barbaric or criminals. I'm totally ranting here. David is just a fascinating love-to-hate character that indeed does humanize the NPCs in the game. I reminisce back to every NPC I strong-armed, shot in the face, blew up, set on fire, bludgeoned their skull in, making me think about their motives of survival, what they were going through. The Last of Us does this without the need to feel preachy, executing this in a very short period of time here in the winter chapter. chapter. It never constantly beats you over the head with some dribble of trying to feed you a pseudo-deep message that doesn't take much to say in the first place. The execution of a story can often be more important than the story itself at times, and personally I'm a fan of letting you piece these clues together yourself if you're willing to look. In the end, no matter what scenario, people are people, ever holding the capacity for good or bad. In your mission in getting out of the town, you end up in a restaurant once called Todd's Steakhouse. Here you have to fight David in an emulated restaurant as Ellie. This is a tense boss fight, actually has phases. Littered on the ground are plates, which actually shatter when stepping over them, alerting David to your location. A similar mechanic to how the twigs snapped upon walking over them, alerting the deer you were hunting in the beginning of this chapter. Instead, you're being hunted this time by David, to stealth around stabbing him with your switchblade. After stabbing him twice, he goes full stealth mode himself. On easy or lower difficulties, it's not that bad. Even stun him through throwable bottles or bricks, successfully get a stab. On grounded, this, like most sections, are much more difficult. His last phase, he sneaks around crouched over, swiftly scanning the area for you. It's scary, frankly, always taking me forever on grounded, oftentimes losing his location. The plates that can alert him to your detriment also can be utilized to purposely attract him to that general area for a possible tactical ambush. Finally stabbing David the last time, he knocks you out before fading back to Joel, who eventually works his way to the set and flamed restaurant.
It's me. It's me. It's me. Look. It's me.
He tried to...
Oh, baby girl. It's okay. It's okay.
No.
It's okay.
The fact Joel doesn't save Ellie in the end is huge, a smart writer's decision. It lets Ellie face her own demons. It also was just so right for a 14-year-old girl to end the piece of pedophile cannibalistic shit that is David. Ellie overcoming David while also caring for Joel in this chapter exemplifies they need each other. I always get so emotional in this cutscene. The emotion in the entire thing is just so intense. The look on Ellie's character of fear comes up subtly many times in this chapter. You see it when she comes back to Joel with the penicillin, wondering if he is still alive. Again after she breaks David's finger, trying to get the keys to escape. After he says, "See you in the morning, Ellie." And you see it here. It's fear. Ellie is brave, portraying a tough exterior. Here you see moments of truth anyone, let alone a kid, would feel. The motion capturing done in this game is unbelievable. The expression of Ellie's eyes in this scene hits you right in the feels. Instinctively, unknowns to who grabbed her during smashing David's face in with a machete, demanding, "Don't fucking touch me," shatters your heart. It's done so extravagantly. Joel calling her baby girl, then cradling her into his arms. Come on, if that don't hit you, you might not have a pulse. I'm not even a father with the concept of what it's like, the bond between you and your kids being alien to me, yet in this moment I feel like one. Them reuniting safely after all of this is a warm way to end a frigid chapter.
Ellie! Ellie! Did you hear me?
No. What?
Look, hospital. This is where we get off. Let's go, kiddo.
A deer engraving on a cement freeway wall is the intro for the last chapter of The Last of Us. It pans out to Ellie viewing it in a somber reflection, obviously remembering the hunt that led to her encounter with David. Ellie throughout this entire chapter seems different, changed from enduring the trauma that was the winter chapter. On a freeway stretch here in Utah, it's gorgeous here, being able to view the real life Oquirrh and Wasatch Mountains in the distance. Coming across an RV, I always love RVs and zombie mediums. I always think back to The Walking Dead Season 2, Dale and his RV. Salt Lake City at this point, like many areas seen before, absent of anything living. Plastered around on signs are giraffe exhibit additions, stating back in 2013 they were new animals to the Salt Lake City Zoo. This is of course foreshadowing. Ellie seems distant, being aloof, quiet, and trying to boost her up. See this portrayal of her when she's just sitting there unaware of Joel's intent to try and get her up. Boosting Ellie up, she urgently drops the ladder without setting it down automatically. She saw something that got her attention. Upon getting the ladder set up this time properly yourself, she beckons out for you to come quick, excited about whatever it is, discovering
You see this? Shh, don't scare it.
I won't.
What are you doing?
It's all right. Come here. Hey. Hurry up. Come on.
Hey there. So fucking cool. Oh, where's it off to? Here, come on, let's go.
Slow down, kiddo.
Come on.
This segment is just so wholesome, encountering a herd of giraffes. If you ever replay this game, you'll notice you can see giraffes and lions everywhere throughout the game in various ways, from toys or signs or posters. Early in the very beginning, back in the Boston slums, there's actually a little girl in the corner near a shop that is playing with one of these giraffe toys, sitting on the ground. You also see these toys littered around like at the toy shop in Pittsburgh, or scattered on the ground near the Lincoln High School. It's definitely best running into a furry friend instead of a furry foe though, with this segment being a giraffe. This point in the game we needed something positive for a change instead of more bloodshed from encountering a hellcat. There's not much to say here, it's just a cool segment. Ellie definitely needed to lighten her spirits up a bit after David. Joel bringing up the fact they don't have to go through with this at this point, through with of course being getting Ellie to the Fireflies, instead choose just turn around, going back to Jackson to live out their lives. Ellie denies this idea, desiring all of this journey and hardship because of her immunity to come to something in the scale of bettering humanity. It's a very endearing trait about Ellie. Not everyone would have the prospect to even do anything about their immunity, of going through all of this for a shot at it in the first place. It shows maybe optimism of youth, yet this again reflects the maturity of Ellie or her character. It's hard to say. Soaking up the "you can't deny the view" steadfast propels you into the last section of the game. This chapter again is very short overall, like a lot of the chapters, this one being called The Bus Depot. Joel and Ellie end up in identical fashion in an exact location again, being near some Fedra medical tents similar to back in the university when looking for the Fireflies, when Joel opened up about Sarah and a vague comment about him being married. A bit off topic for the topic at hand, but it's interesting to note, like Ellie's mom, you never learn anything about Joel's wife, probably even less than Ellie's mom overall. I've always wondered what either of them were like, just speculative characters that always fascinated me. Passing the medical tents prompts Ellie to bring up she stole something for you back at Tommy's dam from Maria, the picture Tommy got back from Austin of him and Sarah. Joel remarks a truth: you can never fully escape your past regardless of how hard you try, while also thanking Ellie. Joel is definitely fully opened up to Ellie. As I've already stated, it really is a complete 180 from him on the onset of the beginning of the game. Down a bus depot terminal, run into the final infected section here in Utah. It's a large group of infected consisting of various types: runners, clickers, even 2 bloaters. It was a missed opportunity here to not include some patrolling stalkers, just throw all of the types in the mix for one last hoorah. This area actually looks tougher than it really is in practice. surface. With a couple of arrows, you can easily make your way along the right side, passing through a pitch black tunnel with some idle runners easily taken out, stealth takedowns. After this, you just have 2 idle bloaters with 2 clickers to really worry about, one of the clickers also being in the idle or sleep-like state, only really having to worry about the patrolling clicker as long as you move slowly. Dealing with the copious amounts of Goombas renders this largely easy, even on grounded at this point. Boosting Ellie up onto a big rig, she drops down a huge pallet, comically explodes in air pollution of a massive crashing thud sound, never alerting any of the infected. Video game logic, that is, another missed opportunity, creates some suspense. Jumping onto the pallet up onto the truck wouldn't be that difficult at this point. As easy overall this section is at this point in the game, it's still pretty creepy getting through it, so this alerting the infected would give some form of shock urgency to a new player for the first time. Nevertheless, finding yourself in a flooded tunnel at this stage, you're halted by a chain link gate. Actually possesses the very last infected you ever see in the base game. A dormant shock scare clicker can actually shoot or explode through the fence if you know it's alive beforehand. It actually bypasses the jump scare aspect of it, coming to life upon boosting Ellie up over opening the door on the other side. Infected dealt with, for the entirety of the upcoming game, Joel and Ellie have to play Frogger atop a raging river using long flooded vehicles. Finally come to the end of the section when the game throws a gotcha at Joel.
Ellie, move!
Hands in the air!
She's not breathing.
Hands in the fucking air!
Come on, man.
Welcome to the Fireflies. Sorry about that. They didn't know who you were.
And Ellie?
She's all right. They brought her back. You came all this way. How'd you do it?
It was her. She fought like hell to get here. Maybe it was meant to be.
I lost most of my crew crossing the country. I pretty much lost everything. And then you show up, and somehow we find you just in time to save her. Maybe it was meant to be.
Take me to her.
You don't have to worry about her anymore. We'll take care
I
of her.
worry. Just let me see her, please.
You can't. She's being prepped for surgery.
The hell do you mean, surgery?
The doctors tell me the cordyceps, the growth inside her, has somehow mutated. It's why she's immune. Once they remove it, they'll be able to reverse engineer a vaccine. A vaccine.
But it grows all over the brain.
It does.
Find someone else.
There is no one else.
Listen, you were gonna show me where...
Stop. I get it. But whatever it is you think you're going through right now is nothing to what I have been through. I knew her since she was born. I promised your mother I would look after her.
Then why are you letting this happen?
Because this isn't about me, or even her. There is no other choice here.
Yeah, you keep telling yourself that bullshit.
March him out of here. He tries anything, shoot him. Don't waste this gift, Joel.
Get up. I said get up. Go on. Move. I said move. Give me an excuse. Which way? What the fuck you doing? Keep walking. I said keep walking. Where's the operating room? I ain't got time for this. Where? Where? Top floor, the far end.
Oh boy. The ending comes in like an intoxicated Mack truck driver. Look up the definition of ambiguity in a dictionary and it says The Last of Us ending. The ending to this story is so unlimited, being debated even to this day. It's actually mind-boggling. It's given the game so much life throughout the years. Like many great stories, it's timeless, piercing into the human spirit. It's haunting. You contemplate it lingering on long after the console powers off, after you put down the controller. This whole section taking control of Joel to save Ellie being very difficult on Grounded. The Firefly forces are tough, similar to Fedra, sporting assault rifles strapped in body armor, which you can actually pick up and use the assault rifle. It's a very underwhelming weapon, ironically, to be honest, eating bullets like no one's business. A full clip required to practically take down one enemy, at least on Grounded. Although the finale to this game alone can and has been made into multiple long video essays, it's definitely a rabbit hole that all leads to the same basis, being that of subjectivity. Some people fixate too much on trying to define Joel's decision to the extent of assigning morality, classify his decision to save Ellie as right or wrong. Which, look, I understand, that's part of the ambiguity of the game, yet in my opinion, this isn't entirely the point of the ending. I never perceived The Last of Us from a right or wrong morality type grounded game, pun intended. In fact, I always viewed it in the compass of a shades of gray. Even with that in mind, that doesn't take out the equation of good or evil entirely in this universe, as you yourself encounter the brutal hunters in Pittsburgh, the bleak rugged life of Fedra zones, and David Dahmer in Colorado. Morality being abnormal, skewed, or alien to us in this universe, as it always is in the duality from a viewpoint of luxury, looking in through a sustained, well-off society in contrast to a world of survivalism. Good and bad, of course, still existing here, it just remains far more animalistic than a humane cultured society, shifting the definition of what's right or wrong. Demonstrated throughout the entirety of the game. Fans of this game hold various differing opinion camps from this ending for good reason. The game throws out these questions for you as the player to ask yourself. What would you do? Would you rescue Ellie from the Fireflies? Would you sacrifice her for the greater good? Then you have the actual setup of the ending itself that throws even more inconclusiveness, wrenches into the mix. Why didn't the Fireflies wake and ask Ellie what she wanted? This always comes to mind for me. I personally think Ellie would want to sacrifice herself, yet there's, I suppose, the legality of a minor being able to make such a decision in the first place. What if she said no? I doubt the Fireflies would just let her go. Ellie ultimately never was given any choice or say in the matter from the Fireflies. This is all intentional. It's purposely written in a manner of being blurred to form your own conclusion, asking the player, what's your viewpoint? The game asks, what would a vaccine cure or further leaps into medical research development on Ellie's mutated brain even bring to an already ravished world? What would the Fireflies even do with a cure? Is the world worth saving? Is humanity at this point in time worth saving? To Joel, it isn't. The ending doesn't all boil down to right or wrong. It's about understanding the humanity and reasoning behind Joel's decision to save Ellie. Not only has the game shown us through cutscenes throughout our brutal trek, we experienced it with Ellie herself. We learn her fears, her strengths, her weaknesses, her quirks, her desires, her humor, all while watching a bitter, broken, hardened man slowly melt down his own barriers, rediscovering something he lost within himself long ago through years of brutal surviving after losing his daughter, Sarah. How the game mirrors Sarah to Ellie and Ellie to Sarah comes across totally authentic. Ellie and Sarah are never a one-for-one. I've already stated this multiple times throughout. Ellie never replaces Sarah for Joel. It just fills a void that was stricken into his soul. The dichotomy of this ends up being ironic because Marlene states maybe it was meant to be, regarding that Joel was the perfect person for the task of delivering Ellie. Yet him becoming emotionally attached to Ellie ends up being the literal opposite. The perfect mix for getting Ellie safely across America, all in vain due to Joel's attachment, turns it impossible for him to let go, unable to see the scope of what this operation could possibly bring to the world. I fully believe Joel would go to hell and back for Ellie at this stage in the game. It's funny because for Joel, there is no choice. Marlene states there is no other choice. For Joel, this is replicated as well, being no choice either. No contemplation or tussle with the fact he'd rather die trying to rescue Ellie than let her go, cure or not. An odd thing I also found is Marlene totally throws Joel to the curb. The game's objective in the beginning starts off unload a girl for some guns, yet Marlene doesn't ever even bring up anything regarding the payment. Ellie in the game's scope obviously becomes much more than that, sure, but a deal's a deal. Literally marching Joel out without even being able to say peace to Ellie or even his due reward, a logic inconsistency. Factually. Marlene also saying stuff like, it's nothing compared to what I've been through, referring to her trek across the country, comes off as shallow as hell. It's trying to paint this picture of relatability to her character from an off-screen perspective, yet Marlene had an entire crew at her aid, at her disposal. Joel and Ellie had just Joel and Ellie. It's a failed comparison in many ways. We've seen for ourselves how rough the world is, so it's not to downplay or minimize her trek, yet it's shallow with Marlene's resources being much more substantial. Marlene morphs into the ending antagonist. Interesting attempting to relate to Marlene's character. I just can't do it. Yet I do get where she is coming from in finding a cure. The whole game has been get Ellie to the Fireflies, abruptly flipping on its head in in the blink of an eye. I do believe Marlene cares for Ellie. I really do. It's demonstrated from her behavior back in Boston, instead choosing to protect Ellie, keeping her in military boarding school rather than to train her as a Firefly member. Then the game also makes you wonder, why the Fireflies? Would Fedra have been more equipped in terms of scientists for breaking medical ground? Surely they have something, right? The question of why the Fireflies is something I've put much more stock into throughout this analysis of the game than I ever had beforehand, for good reason. What would the Fireflies do with a cure? Would it be for the betterment of mankind, or touted as a tool of power to give the militia more authority? It's hard to say, impossible to say actually, given what information we're fed throughout the game. Who's your flame? Who illuminates the darkness around you? Who's your Ellie in your life? Could you sacrifice them for the world you've experienced thus far? For the greater good? With certainty? For chance? It's all subjective. The story interrogates you with these questions from your own morality compass. It causes you to reflect back onto the characters themselves, fortifying them, strengthening them with greater impact. The idea of sacrificing one life for the benefit of many seems a no-brainer, removing the human element to it. Yet it's almost human nature to protect those you love. A single life meaning much more to an individual than hundreds or thousands or even millions of strangers is human nature. To care for those you know and love over strangers is an intense biological drive, the key factor to the perseverance of mankind since the beginning of time. The ending leaves the imagination to the player. It makes you think, what would you do? The ending diverts expectations of a hopeful conclusion to that of a nuanced, personal moral dilemma of Joel's. Joel even lying to Ellie to obviously protect her. Joel knows Ellie won't stop searching for meaning behind her immunity. Instead, Joel choosing to nip that idea in the bud, to just let Ellie be a kid, to live out her life back in Jackson in peace. It's self-sacrificing in many ways, it's selfish in many ways, it's paternal in every possible way. Grabbing Ellie off the operation room table, it's also humorous to note you can shoot the doctor in the toe or leg with something as simple as an arrow from your bow, leaving him to ragdoll dead as a doorknob. The shot performed in this video hardly being anything fatal in any sense. People who have played The Last of Us Part 2 know this pretty much breaks the whole logic behind the basis for the story in that game, yet can be explained away with developers choosing certain canon endings, being left to the creators of course. Just a funny side thing I've always noticed. You don't actually have to inflict a lethal shot here, with a arrow to the toe definitely being survivable. This moment upon picking Ellie up into Joel's arms, embracing her, also mirrors the prologue after Sarah's leg gets injured in the car crash. Joel holds Ellie here in identical fashion to Sarah, symbolizing what Ellie means to him. Joel wasn't about to lose another daughter if he had any say in it. Into an elevator with Firefly members unable to take shots in lieu from the risk of hitting Ellie, Joel makes it, barely.
You can't save her. Even if you get her out of here, then what? How long before she's torn to pieces by a pack of clickers? That is, if she hasn't been raped and murdered first.
It ain't for you to decide.
It's what she'd want. And you know it. Look. You can still do the right thing here. She won't feel anything.
What the hell am I wearing?
Just take it easy. Drugs are still wearing off. the Fireflies. Turns out there's a whole lot more like you, Ellie. People that are immune. There's dozens, actually. Ain't done 'em a damn bit of good, neither. They've stopped looking for a cure. I'm taking us home. I'm sorry.
Wait! Let me go. Please.
You just come after her.
Swapping from Joel, you finish the game as Ellie. This is another intentional swap, letting you reflect more on Joel's decision. It's weird how Joel takes on his own entity at this point in the game. You find yourself back in Jackson, Wyoming. Walking alongside Joel, he talks about Sarah and him taking hikes through the woods like this, and how Ellie and her would have gotten along being good friends. I fully believe Ellie knows there was something Joel didn't disclose to her regarding what happened with the Fireflies. The game leaves this up to you to decide, like many aspects of the ending, yet this is how I always perceived it. You walk slowly up an overlook, looking down where you'll start your new life with Joel, Tommy's settlement here in Jackson. With a bird's eye view looking down on the settlement, you can actually see residents scuffling around inside the fence perimeter, walking around going about their daily lives. All of this brings up the question from the beginning of this video. The Last of Us, masterpiece or not? Definitely a masterpiece. It's a timeless game. It's a game about finding something worth fighting for. A game about hope in the face of adversity. It's never too late to find meaning within your life through people you care about. It's a game that asks the player deep philosophical questions through introspection from within the player's own morality. One could debate certain contentions. The combat is nothing to write home about, yet it serves its purpose of the game, being entertaining and difficult, putting emphasis on stealth. You have to make every shot count to progress through the game. The themes can be argued cliche or predictable, yet the execution of the story through the characters exemplified the meticulous care gone into crafting this world. The writing at times can also be seen as manipulative, yet you never see through exposing the strings attached. The puppeteering from the writers, staying organic through the execution, always keeping the characters in mind. Characters stay consistent throughout, remaining pure to how they're presented in the story. All the side characters bring something unique to the worldview. The game utilizes environmental storytelling to bring narrative points up to the surface. The grand scale of a possible cure, harboring over what factions could have a substantial impact to this universe, instills on the forefront of the player's mind. The game's overarching plot points never outstays its welcome, never coming off as preachy or campy, giving credit to the player to make their own assumptions regarding the story. This coincides with the pacing, which is laid out well, never feeling too slow or too rushed, offering the perfect storms and calms. A dark game tackling the dirty sides of humanity, yet it is shockingly abundant of light many times. Was Joel's decision selfish? Was it right? Was it wrong? It's all subjective, leaving you to form your own opinions. This game crafted some of the most memorable video game characters to date, spawned a TV show that I haven't personally watched yet, and also continued this story in The Last of Us Part 2. Ellie back in Lincoln when leaving Billstown, driving in our newly acquired truck, remarked about her comic book ending, stating she hates cliffhangers. Ironic as this story she's set in is the ultimate cliffhanger. It's a game that is far superior despite any pre-assumptions you might have had before actually experiencing it, being vastly better than it had any right in being from a zombie game. Admittedly, that's a shallow way to view storytelling in general. It doesn't matter your setting or plot points. A story worth telling is a story worth telling, period. The ambiguity of the game is on another level, leaving many unanswered questions, yet also concluding many others. The whole premise can be summed up entirely off of the Firefly's slogan, "When you're lost in the darkness, look for the light." Joel found his light within this story, unwilling to give that beacon up for anything, rather choosing the possibility of dooming mankind to continue suffering as the Cordyceps reign king. It's a game about choices in a game with no real player choices. A game about love, hope, grief, and loss, backdrop by a collapsed society. A game where you rekindle humanity, reinstalling purpose within a character again, having to suffer those consequences of that character's actions. A game about being human in an inhumane time. A game that demonstrates survivalism isn't what we today view a quality life worth living. What does it really mean to be alive? At what point does the drive for purpose in one's life make you lose sight of the bigger picture? Was there ever a bigger picture to even begin with? Were the Fireflies ever competent in the first place? The story concludes Joel's character arc, finalizing his character superbly. What's left to the player is either a bittersweet conclusion or a happy ending, relying solely on your take of the circumstances. I always get giddy about the prospects, what happened to these characters after the ending of this game, and in my opinion, this game didn't need a continuation of the story with these characters. It ended so well, letting your imagination, like a lot of the backstory about Fedra and the Fireflies, paint a picture in your head what happened afterwards. Joel stating he struggled for a long time with surviving as he grasped and glances down at his broken watch, gifted by Sarah 2 decades ago, shows he found his purpose, literally showing he has no regrets. There was never a choice in his mind to save Ellie. What do you think? What's your view of the ending of this game? Let me know in the comments. I love hearing differing perspectives of this game's ending. It's what makes it so great, giving it longevity. It's what makes it truly a masterpiece.
All right, come on.
Hey, wait. Back in Boston, back when I was bitten, I wasn't alone. My best friend was there, and she got bit too. We didn't know what to do. So, she says, let's just wait it out. You know, we can be all poetic and just lose our minds together. I'm still waiting for my turn.
Ellie.
Her name was Riley, and she was the first to die. And then it was Tess. And then Sam.
None of that is on you.
You don't understand.
I struggled for a long time with surviving. And you... no matter what, you keep finding something to fight for. Now, I know that's not what you want to hear right now.
Swear to me. Swear to me that everything that you said about the Fireflies is true.
I swear.